show, and that is what happened in the news.
Changing the name of the assets, we're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Hello, humans. This is your power report for the 9th of January 2025. I am Dan. Good to be with y'all. Christina and Bam with me on the show. How are y'all doing?
I'm okay.
It seems better than you. You all right?
Yeah, barely. What's that Earl Sweatshirt lyric? I'm not okay, but I'm gonna be all right. That's where we are. Yeah. I spent yesterday, so like I'm fine. Thanks for everyone who asking, and not like Bam cared. Bam's close to the fires, honestly, but I mean, in a way, but you're not. I'm not gonna put you on blast, but I think you're fine.
I'm not.
Like Hassan away or whatever.
No,
he's close, probably.
Hassan's mad close. Yeah, the sunset.
Last night he's like, "We'll be fine," and I'm like, "Dude, get the fuck out now! Like, leave!" He rescued Will and Caroline, but I'm like, "You dumbass."
No, I'm not gonna make this all about this, but where Hassan is at is close to the hills, but not on the hills. So there's a lot of people in West Hollywood who are not evacuating because like there's still a couple more blocks to go. But like you see fire, you see smoke. Like the hills that are on fire right now, like Runyon Canyon. That's where I used to go on like hikes all the time when I lived over there. So yeah, it's devastating. I geographically am further away from the fires, closer like Orange County, frankly, but my cousins are, well, live is a unique word today, right? But my cousins generally stay in Altadena, which is one of the areas that's like hardest hit.
Yep.
Like when I need to tell you how desperation hockey this has been, like the fire hydrants ran out of water to pump, like, you know, water for the fire department.
Just get those pistachio billionaires to give you some of their water.
Yeah, don't even get me started. I forget the family, but yeah, I think it's called like the Honest Company.
Yeah. Also, my uncle's like, the reason why California doesn't have any water is because they bring all the water into the ocean. I'm like, no, there are rich people hoarding and using up all the water. But then he's a Magadoo, so I'm like, I have friends who live in California. Okay, you don't know everything.
Donald Trump said that like, oh, this is all Gavin Newsom's fault for, you know, not signing some water thing. And it's like, okay, cool. We can all just sit and watch how little these people know about very fundamental things.
Yeah, but if 9/11 had happened today, they would blame the DEI NYPD.
Yeah, they would be like, oh, you know, if the Twin Towers were white instead of black, then, you know, maybe they would have dodged the plane, or, you know, we're all these DEI suicide pilots. No, the way, yeah, I go so far into it. So yeah, this is say I had to help them evacuate. They're staying with me. We don't know if their house is still around. That Altadena is gone. It is gone.
Francesca had to evacuate.
Yeah, a lot of folks who live close to the hilly, more mountainy areas of California, I mean of LA specifically, are having to leave. And I posted when this first happened, like when the fires were just spreading, and I was seeing, oh wow, East Coast media is talking about fires. In California, usually that doesn't happen. Like there'll be a big story if in New York there's some smoke coming down from Canada, and so like that's like a big in the focus. But yeah, whenever it's noticed, especially like in 2017 when I was going to college, and there were a lot of fires up in Northern California when I was there. Like I was like, wait, the state's like super on fire in a way that usually doesn't happen. How come New York Times isn't covering this? I remember that like being angry now. So I have that inclination, and I was like, okay, these houses are in, the Pacific Palisades, on Sunset Boulevard. Anything on Sunset Boulevard is really nice. And, in Malibu. And I was like, go to Hollywood maybe. But, like, you go to, Malibu, the Pacific Palisades area. These are known where a lot of celebrities have homes, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And I want to point out too is that like a lot of people are like a bunch of celebrities live there. I'm like, yeah, but there are working class people who do live in that area as well. But I will say that the problem that a lot of people are having is that everyone's focusing on, oh, Anthony Hopkins lost his house. Oh, Paris Hilton lost her house. All these rich people just lost their homes. And I'm like, okay, but they have properties elsewhere in the country and probably in Europe. So
yeah, like
wow.
it's weird how like the coverage works. A lot of them are like and you're exactly right. That's kind of what I was trying to get to, was that there's a lot of working class people who live in these places. In fact, the Palisades, yeah, those are really nice homes over there. But I have friends whose grandparents got like those places, and like most homes in California, they were very cheap in the 50s and in the 40s and the 50s when they were building them brand new. And like we have in this country, and in this capitalism game, we commodify housing. And so for a lot of Americans who don't have exposure to the stock market, they have no retirement savings to speak of because Republicans have gotten rid of their pensions and Democrats let them do it. That home is your wealth, like the generational wealth, the culture, like the Altadena is one of the few places in LA that for a long time you could actually be black and own a house. As late as like the 1930s and 40s, if you were black or Japanese or Jewish or Latino in Los Angeles, you would be discriminated against getting a home in a lot of major places. And a lot of the cultural like sort of hubs that you have of like, okay, well, yeah, Fairfax has a big Jewish population because that's the only place they were allowed to live. Right. So all of this stuff is wrapped up in all this stuff is really wrapped up in politics. It's so intersectional, and a lot of people are getting the connections wrong. Like, but I just got to say that, like, to watch people's life savings essentially in their house go up in flames repeatedly, as like has been shared on social media, as I got to see a little bit of myself. Again, still don't know how my cousin's place is, if my cousin's place is, but that it's been, in addition to the general empathy I have for people in just like going through this in general, it's my family. It's people who are really, really close to me who are like homeless. And yeah, it's a lot of working class people. It's a lot of folks from all walks of life. Like, the other thing, I know I'm talking a lot here, but like the other thing is that people are saying, oh, there's no firefighters because LA got all woke and they had these they stopped hiring white male firefighters. And they point back to this like article that was, I think NPR or some other folks covered it, about LA Fire Department realizing, okay, like many LA city things, this is a very like white and male thing. We're not gonna stop hiring firefighters. Trust me, LA Fire Department wants to hire as many as possible, and this is an example why. But it was an effort to like, how can you look for other places where you're going to have very qualified people who can fight fires, who just don't fit the usual mold. Like, I don't know, the prisoners that we use to fight fires and underpay, who a lot of them are men of color, right? Like, I don't know, they're already fighting the fires. Like, that's been
we're still underpaid. They make, for 24 hours day of work, they make $2.60.
Yeah, and money gets taken out of that too. It's not like they're like singing the praises at commissary. And by the way, that's a life-threatening job. You may get some alleviation on your sentence, but like, yeah, you're fighting fires in a slave that literally says prisoners can be slaves, or like basically indentured servitudes. Indentured servitude. So yeah, there's so much I can and will want to talk about it in general, and have already. But to say I am personally shaken by this would be an understatement.
Well, damn. I mean, yeah, I luckily don't. I mean, I know some people that had to evacuate and stuff like that. Nobody really close, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's been like really warm the past like 2 weeks or so. And like I feel like there was maybe like 1 or 2 days when it was overcast. Like it's getting really cold at night, but the days have been in the 70s and sunny. And
Winter.
yeah, and like last year it wasn't like this. Like it's kind of unseasonably warm this like time of year this year. So and then when those winds come, like you just know, like people when you're from down here, like you already know what's coming next. And I think just this one is just way worse than usual and hitting a area that it doesn't usually hit and like really bad. So and I didn't I don't know if you got the alert, Dan, but I know some people around my way got a evacuation alert.
Yeah, we all got a false evacuation alert that was sent to everyone in LA County.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah, I knew a few streamers who were like, "Oh no!"
yeah, I was, you know, I'm obviously paying a lot of attention to this, but I just went through the whole driving through ash evacuating thing to be very, very far away from that fire, right? And so when I got that notification, I was like, I know I've had my windows closed, so I haven't looked outside, but like, is it legit? Is it really? Like, are we that cooked?
No,
Yeah.
I was pretty sure. I was like, I just thought they were like they just overscoped it, but because I was like, I looked at the map not that long ago, like unless somebody just like started one right here, like I think I'm okay. And like my area is not, and like even like Long Beach and stuff, like it's hard there's not that much fuel for a fire. I think what a lot of people may not understand if you're not from LA, Southern California, those areas that are burning, like there's a lot of fuel for a fire there. Like those Malibus, those Pacific Palisades, it's basically all fire fuel and a few houses, you know, like it's just canyon and bush and coyotes. And then there's some houses there.
Indigenous folks used to, you know, do natural wildfires and controlled burns in that region because that was, you know, fine for the soil. And when you know, it's a mountain, it's a canyon, it's in California, which is like a chaparral desert type thing in that area. Like, yeah, it's gonna get hot and it's gonna, you know, a lightning strike could cause a fire, right? Some of that's totally fine. The reason what. Of course, we're going to open the big Pandora's box, and the big issue for this is climate change and all the ways that humans, you know, contribute to that. But
and who loved a cigarette that probably started.
Yeah, and like Bam said, because we have all of these, like because of human civilization being a barrier for all of the fires that you usually have, which we normally naturally have, the fires get worse because there's so much fire fuel. There that hasn't naturally kind of been burned around. So you can get so intersectional with this, like how far we've gotten from, you know, how Native folks took care of this land and did a way better job than we did. All the way to, yeah, there's just so many aspects of this here.
Well, I don't know if you guys know this, but apparently it's been freezing down south and we might be getting snow tomorrow.
Yeah, the East Coast is crazy right now.
I know, I don't get, but my theory is that we're just going to get some ice because it's going to be like 26 in the morning. There's not going to be any moisture, but we're going to get, when it's close to 40 degrees, we'll probably get like sleet and some ice. But like, I think up north, they're going to get some snow that's going to turn into like ice, which is, y'all know that's not good at all for those who live like up north.
Yo, I've been driving. I mean, it's like I remember hearing about this because Georgia, Atlanta specifically, is in like a winter freeze warning, and I'm like,
yes,
I know Atlanta can be like a climate place, like it's a big forest and all, but I was just like, what?
Atlanta gets snow. Like it's weird. Like my area does not get snow, but like up like a few hours away in Anderson County, South Carolina, oh my God, they'll get snow. Greenville will get snow. At CSRA, no snow, and I'm like, I want to play in the snow.
I remember a few years ago, it snowed in Atlanta, and the conspiracy theorists were saying it was plastic. but going back to LA, just like for the people that aren't from here, like once again, it's that area that is, you know, burning badly is a lot of brush, and it's a lot of fuel for fires. It's not like some big city kind of area,
Yeah.
like when you once you like go north of Santa Monica, it's just mountainous kind of brush areas. And
Yeah.
When all these streets on the screen here start getting curvy, it's like, yeah, that's not
right,
because they were bored. It's like this is a mountain.
it's a mountain.
Yeah.
And it's just,
So don't get me
yeah.
wrong, there's some parts of LA where they just make the streets curvy on a flat territory because they're bored and racist. But like,
Yeah, and a lot of times we get these fires, kind of like East LA County or whatever, or like the San Gabriel Valley areas or whatever. Like that's kind of getting into the weeds, but and I think somebody over there, you're okay, or even the Paradise Fire, like yeah, it's like the woods or whatever. But these areas that are burning now are not that much different than that. So yeah, and also it's just getting like the winds have been crazy.
Yeah, just brushing more, creating more different fires. There's like 5 different fires going on at the same time due to just this one fire starting.
yeah,
Right.
you get one house on your block that's on fire, and like literally the embers can travel faster than the firefighters can.
Yep.
And
Right, yeah,
by the time they get the call, another fire is started. By the time they actually get there, assuming they can make it there, 10
Another one.
fires have started.
Yeah.
like, it's not just like 1, 2, 3. It's 1, 2, 10, 50.
Yeah.
Because it gets exponential. So the more stuff is on fire, the easier it is. The winds are insane right now. And to that point, I have a distinct memory of growing up in LA, and Halloween, like the week of Halloween, would always be very like foggy and eerie. You get like a full moon. It was really nice, followed by November and December with rain. And like to my point, I'm like, oh yeah, I don't really get my car washed in November or December in California because it's gonna rain, and my car's been dirty as hell this year.
No,
I finally misted a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be a problem. Exactly, because like Bam and I were saying, when you live here, we get wildfires every year, all right? We know the season. We can literally tell you the conditions. And we're not meteorologists. We just know, okay, this is the wind. It's kind of this like hot breeze, like the Santa Anas. We get them all the time. The difference is such a dry landscape, like perfect conditions for not just fire, but super fires everywhere.
Yeah.
And
it hasn't rained since like middle of November. That was like the last time
I think it rained then.
No,
They
it
said
did.
it's been a little rain, or was it a lot?
It was like a middle of November. It was like a day and a half of rain. And there's usually like some days.
Yeah, I think it's been like 11 months since a real downpour, because wasn't there like landslides and floods?
No, it rained like earlier in 2024, but just like this, since it's gotten cooler, the last rain we got was middle of November, and that's kind of unusual.
Yeah,
like it'll usually be sunny on Christmas, like high 60s, low 70s, so that's normal. But usually you will get some rain. I know last year, New Year's, it rained. I remember that actually. So it's just the weather has been really warm, and we got those winds. The other morning, when I got up in the morning and I went like the patio in the backyard, it was just like black with like ash, and it would like looked crazy. I'm like, what is this? Like, what happened while I was asleep? It's crazy.
No, today, I mean, I barely slept today because I was evacuating and kind of just like in shock and didn't sleep. But yeah, the sky is orange. Like just the glow from my window is orange.
don't go outside, people.
Just a reminder that the smoke particles, in addition to not being good for you, the smoke you're smelling in the air is, not to be dark or glib, but like all of the hopes and dreams of Angelinos. And a lot of those hopes and dreams are carcinogenic.
Yeah,
like literally we're talking about like car parts, parts of houses, like electronics that are in this mix. So like, please wear a mask. It's not a government conspiracy. The KN95 ones and the N95 ones from COVID do work pretty well at getting out of these particles for like fires and stuff. So I have extra masks to give out. I've been helping with like my neighbors and that stuff. Like, please, be careful if you're outside.
Yeah, and another thing too is that, a lot of people don't understand there's a lot of like Twitch streamers and influencers that live in that area too. Like a lot of people, they want to make it big, they move to LA, and I'm over here like Brooklyn, New York or whatever, but I know LA is like the hotbed for like that type of, work and career, but I'm over here stuck in South Carolina saying we might get snow.
I mean, it's another article I was thinking about, and shout out to my friend Evan, business partner who is in Hollywood and kind of tells me about this stuff. But again, more intersectionality. Hollywood has not still fully recovered from the big strikes and all of that was happening, and all of the movie studios doing new deals about AI and streaming and residuals and all that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. So the industry hasn't really fully recovered. You have a lot of people who like were living on savings. It's a very boom bust sort of industry to work in anyways, because like when you have the when people want to see content, you have content to be made, you have a job every day. When the season's over, you don't have a job for several months. That's just like the name of the game. People now have not, even a job for a year, 2 years. By the way, now your house is burned down. And so it's especially that area of West Hollywood, like we've joked about a lot in the past, of Hassan and I being neighbors and stuff, but kind of the thing about some of these areas is, you do get a lot of those transplants. You do get people who are just like in the quote unquote industry, and it's a nice place. It's not an inexpensive place. It's not an unexpensive place, but you can definitely find cheap spots there. But you have a lot of people of all walks of life who are just trying to get around, get along. And you're seeing, like, I woke up this morning and, Kamala Harris was at, side-eyeing with her husband at Jimmy Carter's lay in wake sort of like lay in state sort of funeral thing. Yeah. The news that I heard from Kamala Harris is that her house in Brentwood is part of the evacuation zone. Like, this is affecting literally the president. Yeah. Christina, you were talking about like all the celebrities who
I had a streamer who just moved to LA, and she's like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to evacuate, my new house is gonna get burnt out that I just bought. And I'm like, that sucks when you finally make enough money and you get to move to LA, and the first thing that happens is potential house burning down.
It's why you have a lot of people who grew up in LA who like, a lot of folks will end up getting nice houses in the hills or whatever, but that's just never appealed to me for this reason.
Like, why?
I can get nice hills on land by the beach.
Literally, like, if you give me $1 billion, I'm not moving over there. Like, because it's fire land. Like, it's gonna happen. Like, absolutely. There was a mudslide over there in like, was it Santa Monica or Malibu not that long ago, and I remember like Soldier Boy had to like hop out of his sunroof or something like that. Like, it was crazy. Like the stuff over there is crazy. And even like somebody moving to LA, it's like, dude, move to like Long Beach or something. Move to like,
don't tell people to go to Long Beach. Rent's already high. Please stop.
Right, it's true. You don't gotta move like right in the middle of it, and especially like north of the middle of it. Like, once you start
closer to the shore,
there's that feeling that you have to kind of like be in the action. And like, for sure, the random moments where I walk into Hollywood people happens less ever since I moved out of there. Also, I like that. I actually kind of like being around more like salt of the earth people. In general, like Hollywood's fine, but it definitely gets to be too much of itself.
You don't like running into Paris Hilton every now and then, Dan?
No, Dan's not running into Paris Hilton. That's a different level.
I don't. Not to make this about me, but the whole like, don't say you hate LA when you've never been past the 10 thing kind of goes to this. There's a whole area of like the town where transplants kind of never move to because they feel like Santa Monica, Brentwood, the Hollywood Hills, like Echo Park, what people keep calling wrongly East LA, right? Like these are the places to move. That's the places that transplants move to. And I'm just like, I've been to some of these places that I grew up around but never was at. And I'm like, Highland Park's nice. Echo Park's nice. You need to go through mountains and valleys to get there, which means you need to go through those same things to get out. And there's a lot of people who pay a lot of money to live on Laurel Canyon Boulevard. And, to get on all those like really nice neighborhoods, they're all on fire. The roads are blocked.
Yeah. Right. Laurel Canyon back in the 60s and 70s was where all the folk singers and and some rock singers used to live in the early 70s because all of them were friends with each other. But times change, and I mean, this is not the first time a fire has hit Laurel Canyon or whatever. Like, it's again, it's every year. You guys say there's always some fire impacting somewheres in Southern California.
It's funny too because somebody in the chat was talking about the air quality. I'm like, yeah, but like we're kind of used to that going outside and the fire smell. Like it's kind of like not that like it happens at least once a year where you go out and there's ash on your car and there's the fire smell outside.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff mixed into it.
Yeah, like that's pretty normal.
Christina, you're just talking about celebrities, and again, I can think about this all the time. The Palisades and all these different areas were where you had a lot of celebrities in the 50s. We have the actor Will Rogers. The beach that is on Santa Monica, Will Rogers State Beach. That's a state park. The people don't know this, but the fires are happening in the Angeles National Forest. That's a national park that Trump's probably going to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
Like, or allow for oil drilling, which will be great for the fires.
Yeah, totally. Oil doesn't do anything. We know this by now.
Will Rogers' house was a protected landmark. It's gone now.
Yeah, a lot of old Hollywood actors from like Joan Crawford. Her house is in Brentwood, I think, and like it's part of like the Hollywood celebrity house tours and stuff like that happen. Like I would love to go to one of those, but I ain't going to LA at all. I'm afraid of it. I'm afraid. Okay. Like I arrive there and there's a fire and I'm like, oh, great.
I mean, honestly, I would, you have nothing to worry about, but I wish more transplants came to LA with fear.
Like me.
I think that's the right way to move yourself in LA. And once you live there long enough, you realize, oh, there's actually nothing to fear about. It's just, I had to stop myself from getting, too petty this early in the show, but I do want to start getting towards a lot of the critique and the criticism because I just like vented a lot there, and we're just kind of doing the Californians LA geography and talking about the 5 and the 10 and shit. But we were just thinking about this because the topic came up of celebrities' house and things like that. But I saw a really good post, and there have been a lot of good points and juxtapositions that this fire has created. One of which was noting that there was a massive protest, like there's a big uproar, and there's always this, tone policing thing that happens with climate protesters where they're like put a soup can on a protected art piece or whatever, or like try to mess it up. And it's a point for awareness for climate change to a group of people who are usually, wealthy, hoity-toity arts folks. And, I'm not wealthy, but I like that shit too. And they pointed like, okay, well, someone went to the Getty Villa, which is one of the big museums that especially is like by the coast. It's kind of the bastard of the Getty proper, but again, this is not the Californians. But it's the Getty Villa. It's like by the beach. Someone had did a climate protest there, and they got one of the paintings covered, and caused an uproar and everything, all that stuff. The Getty Villa is closed because it is deep within the Pacific Palisades. I mean, not deep, but like it's well within there. And the Getty, the people who run the organization, the foundation, were like, we're like 95% sure it's okay. So far, there hasn't been a lot of damage, but like, we're surrounded by fire. And so the great juxtaposition was, okay, where's the conversation right now about how we're protecting the art? Right, like where are all the people going like, oh no, these fires are coming for the Getty Villa, like it's terrible, we got to do something about climate. Like this is the right way to protest if you're gonna have wildfires around. Like I'm just like there's so many good, like my warpath and the more disgusting aspects of what I did in that warpath were kind of meant to be a Rorschach test of like, okay, what is your line? Anyone who's like watching and like saw that happen, and there'll be some stuff continuing on that maybe the next week even, but everyone who was watching that, you had to kind of pick like, okay, what was your line? Is it the stuff that I'm mad about Jenkins' coverage on TYT as it refers to crime or trans folks, or is it me bringing up Michael Brooks and Anna's therapist? like we have to figure out what the line is for a lot of people. And let me tell you, a lot of people failed that test because they got much more upset about the words I said than the things I was talking about. And that's kind of the same thing here, where it's like, Are you going to be more upset at the Progresso, the Campbell's chicken noodle soup on the painting? Or are you going to be more upset about the fucking wildfire around the entire? Actually, no, both Gettys. The Getty Villa is the one in Topanga, but the Getty proper is in the Hollywood Hills.
Is that named for like the actual like Getty family, like the very, very, very wealthy billionaire, like like the one who got his ears, the one who got kidnapped, the guy's ear cut off? Yeah, they're fine. They're fine.
Listen, they know how to make a museum. The Getty is like one of my favorite things to take people to when they're like out of town. And like, if I actually like you, I'll take you to the Getty. It's a great time.
Oh, damn, you don't like me? No wonder.
No, yeah, I definitely would. But it's not like if I hate you, I'd be like, really great part of LA, Union Station. Union Station. It's right by the Arts District. It's like little Tokyo. Just make sure the best time to be at Union Station is like 2 a.m. though. And at least you're really close to Skid Row, which is another one of my favorite parts. That's if I hate you and I hate you and want to come to LA, that's how it is. But yeah, there have been so many different critiques. I've been avoiding. It's actually very reminiscent, Christina, because I remember when there was the hurricane that you were affected by, and there was power that was out for a long time.
Oh yeah, and internet too. Some people are finally still getting their internet back, but that's what happens when you have Breeze Line.
Don't even get me started. But the way that I was amazed then that conspiracy theories were very quickly like spreading about this. I'm like, dude.
Yeah,
it's a hurricane. We have Dopplers now. We have maps. We can see this. We're not guessing.
But Dan, come on. There are things dropping into the atmosphere to make it rain, to change the climate, to change the weather. We know this by now.
I got someone saying, why are the firefighters putting this red powder on the fire? I'm like, it's called fire retardant.
Yeah, you could say that. I mean, yeah, or putting salt. Like even they say putting salt like helps, like down fire. It's like putting salt on ice. It helps dissolve or whatever. But like everyone's like, it's just you need water. You need water. I'm like, no, there are powders that fire departments spread around to help the fire when they can't get on the ground.
Yeah, it's. So yeah, the conspiracy theories about this, like, oh, someone is setting the fires. I'm like, honestly, here's the thing. Like Christina was joking about, we have a whole bunch of situations where like massive billion-dollar disaster fires, we finally figure out what it was, and like someone flicked a cigarette, or in Northern California, the electric company caused the fire.
Yeah.
Right.
Look up Pacific Gas and Electric. Literally, they're extreme deluxe they're gonna be extreme deluxe bankrupt like for my grandkids. Honestly.
Right.
But yeah, the big fires that happen in the Bay Area, and if you're wondering which ones, I'm like, yeah, exactly. But they did the study and they found out the entire billions of dollars, people's lives destroyed. The power company wasn't taking care of the power lines. And so when you put these power lines that are carrying a lot of heat energy and electricity on poles made from wood, from trees, and you throw in some of that, the Bay Area don't mess around with they've had no problems with rain this year, is what I'm saying, right? Like they're good, but that means lightning can happen, and you just need one little strike like that, and we're done. Like,
don't I know it?
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's so crazy. Yeah, or like remember the gender reveal party caused that one fire.
Right.
Yeah. Just do the cake, fill it with blue or pink or whatever. If you're having twins, half and half or triplets, whatever. just don't stop with the theatrics or just release balloons into the air. Like come on.
The funny thing too is with the whole like they can control the weather thing. I'm like, well, all these rich people's homes got burned down. Like you would think theys would protect them, right? Like they would do what they got to do to make some rain come for the people in Pacific Palisades, right?
Imagine finding out that's how your Illuminati bill is past due.
Yeah. Or it's like when California can be prone to earthquakes and stuff like that. That's like, oh my God, there was an earthquake in San Francisco. How did this happen? It's like, do you not know history of like earthquakes in California? Like you can't it's all about fault line friction. Like you can't really predict when they're going to happen. Like, sometimes back then they were more frequent, but as the faults, that's the slates or whatever move, different ways. I mean, apparently I'm on a fault line. We had an ice storm and then an earthquake, and that was exciting without power.
It's kind of hilarious how random parts of the center of the country have earthquake fault lines. Like I know Kansas has a fault line. I'm like, whoa, what? You know how mad I would be if I had to live in Kansas and deal with earthquakes? Like, yeah, earthquakes kind of suck, but like at least you live in LA.
Well, that's due to fracking.
Yeah, the fracking fault lines now. But yeah, even with the hurricanes, it's like our dear president did mention we can nuke the hurricane. Maybe we'll do that soon.
Sharknado that shit.
I did. What you were saying is we were talking about like these pyrotechnics. I'm like, for a city that constantly lights on fire, LA loves our pyrotech. Like we love fireworks. I'm explaining to my workers in New York, where I guess they just like don't pop off fireworks every day. That like, yeah, LA has a fireworks season, and you would think that the 4th of July is like the big time, and that's definitely one of the big days. But I'd say our fireworks season starts in May. People start like popping those off around Memorial Day or something, and it'll go all the way into September for Labor Day, because you got to get rid of some of those excess fireworks. It'll go into any birthdays or weddings or celebrations and things like that. A random Thursday and someone's bored. That's going to continue until like New Year's, and then there'll probably be a little bit around President's Day, and then we'll get like 3 months of a break. But yeah, it's kind of amazing how much we like fireworks and lighting shit on fire, and that this is not often.
Don't let the Dodgers win the World Series. They were going crazy fireworks over that.
Yo,
California
Lord,
would have them banned, like New Jersey does.
Okay, listen.
Some cities have them banned, but
yeah, LA is a confederation of cities, and so you have a lot of cities within it, like Culver City, West Hollywood, Long Beach, Lakewood, etc., that make up all their own rules. You're not supposed to have fireworks. They call them the safe and sane, like little firecrackers that you can get from the stores and stuff. But like, it's like Mexico and the United States. It's like, yeah, Mexico has a strict gun ban. They're also neighbors with America, and we like shit out guns. So you can figure it out.
Well, apparently too, Trump people want for America to reclaim Mexico, as if Mexico was ours to begin with. It was Spain's.
It infuriates me so much, like how in a region named Los Angeles, how many people don't get the picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the conspiracy theories, we're getting some in the comments too, and like I've been dreading doing this part of the show, frankly, because it's gonna I don't even know it's gonna make me upset. I just don't have it in me for this level of bullshit the way I usually do, right? Where like, yeah, they're saying we have no firefighters because of DEI, and we got rid of them all. My favorite is the firefighters were forced to take the COVID vaccine. See, and so that's the good firefighters left. So if we didn't have
serious?
If we didn't have forced vaccinations, if we didn't have the jab, then these fires would be put out fine. If only we had some more blonde, blue-eyed, chiseled chin men fighting the fires, then we'd all be safe, and we three can all go on a group date to the Getty Villa. But like,
what the hell do they think the firefighters do? They point the damn hose, man. Like shit.
They'll rescue animals. They'll do more than what police do. I mean, cops cause things to escalate. In a way, cops cause crime to happen.
I think there's a video.
Firefighters don't cause the fires.
Yeah.
You never know.
It is asinine to be like, okay, we just have to deal with this, this deluge. And of course it had to come on this week while all this stuff was happening. I sent this to Sachi, and it was one of the weirder things I've sent, but once I start playing it, it'll make sense. In a week where you have, we had a lot of weird events happen this year. This is the first power report, but we've had 2 terror attacks.
Yes. From the military people too. It's coming from inside the military.
Not sending their best, I'm not sure what DI did there. Maybe we got to get rid of some of the white men, and that would be a help to the military. But no, information and correct information is like more vital than ever. And we have a bunch of lackadaisical tech bros who have no care or interest in news or information or facts that do anything to contradict their own wealth. And not only that, but there's this they're pledging fealty to Donald Trump. There's this conversation about I forget the exact phrase, but basically it's complying before you have to with fascism that people are talking about. But when I saw this video from everyone's favorite robot, I actually lost it, because this is just not the right answer to be dealing with these things. So I'll play a little bit of this clip from Mark Zuckerberg here, and then we can discuss it.
Oh God.
Hey everyone, I want to talk about something important today, because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
I just want to add, so I remember, I'm old enough to remember, Facebook being found responsible and liable for a genocide in Myanmar because of misinformation that was spreading on the app. Meta platforms through WhatsApp was responsible for spreading a lot of misinformation in India, a place where there's no internal strife between populations of people that hate each other at all. So like he's gonna get into this by saying, and the way he said it too was like, with the new administration and with politics changing, we have to have a new approach to social. And it's like, I'm glad that these people are not as talented as we think they are, because if he was at all smart, he would not have said that part out loud.
Right.
Yeah.
It's the timing is bad, but to make it obvious and go, you're hedging your bets because you don't want to be, on the receiving end of some right-wing conspiracy theory about social media and platform censorship. You're taking this approach that basically they said they are moving their content moderation out of California and into Texas, which is again a total like Mark Zuckerberg and I, when I was working at TYT with Hassan and we were making the breakdown videos, we had kind of like found a glitch in the matrix, and we were able to get those videos to get really big views because we knew that we could piss off conservatives.
That's why
and
TYT
those
was
conservatives
popping.
would reshare it. Yeah. And so I remember that there was the top 10 news feed on Facebook, and conservatives started claiming that that was biased and algorithmically set up by Facebook. Soon after, Facebook, because Republicans love working the refs, they tuned the dial and started deprioritizing stories from, not the Daily Wire. Like literally Ben Shapiro would be in 9 of the top 10 most shared things on Facebook. And that was even before it was getting really super chuddy. All right. So Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they all talk this like big game about free speech and protecting it. But you'll find that they have all appointed themselves essentially as the leaders and protectors of free speech in private corporations that act as, the public square. So these are all complaints that these tech bros have had about social media, really honestly, just because right-wing stuff doesn't get shared as much. Now they've already won the game, like they've won the gambit, and they're like, we're gonna actually make it go open season even more and make it even easier to spread misinformation, spread lies,
spread hate.
On the plus side, Bam and I, it's going to be a lot easier for us to find our smut videos on Meta because they're not going to be doing that much censorship. But
also too is that I think Meta removed protections for like LGBTQ plus people when it comes to hateful content and
women.
And yay. So it's like
not like women or LGBTQ plus people ever have to deal with anything bad on the internet though, so it's fine.
I was dealing with being I was dealing with transphobia today, and I'm like, dude, what?
I know I was spent way too much time on Twitter today, but I love when the transvestigators are like, "Ha, Adam's apple. You're a secret man." Because someone who knows, the sort of like incel transphobe who constantly does this, am so familiar with the female body that I can tell just from a photo and a weird angle on your neck, like, are you a biological
They
or
were
a signed woman of the-
transvestigating.
Yeah.
My friend Molly, tweets and boobs, who's always posting sexy photos of herself. I'm like, she's a mother of two. She has a cesarean section scar. Like, she's always posted her boobs, being sexy and shit. I'm like, you mean you're gonna transvestigate the hot MILF of left Twitter? Really? Okay. It's like it's like these dudes, they they hate when hot girls do hot girl shit. That's what it is.
You should take it as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it. I back in the day, I would get into so many more of those fights. The Warpaths took so much more out of me that if I wasn't doing the show, I would be on a silent retreat as a monk, like being peaceful this year. But this could not. Mark Zuckerberg could not have made this announcement, this decision, on a worse week as far as a lot of this information spreading and going. And luckily internally, it seems like people at Meta are pissed about this. And again, there's another very
AI profiles.
There's another very high arching belief here that I think is worth tackling and addressing, because like I said, this fire, you can say so much about intersectional politics just by talking about it. But we do too much straw manning in our politics. Not really saying we, but the idea that, and it's almost completely accepted, that, oh, it's Facebook, therefore it's a liberal woo-woo, like fruity, company or whatever in liberal California where they do nothing. And like, there was a lot of stuff talked about the cushy benefits of tech workers. They definitely do like make a lot of money. But this idea that these companies are not massively profitable businesses that, lean conservative in most of their decisions and most of their implementations, right? Like Facebook union busts a lot. They really don't want workers to organize. And where Facebook is based in California, Palo Alto, was already a kind of hoity-toity suburb in the original computer days of like Hewlett Packard and then the dot-com bubble. But because it's just generations of tech wealth, it's pretty white, pretty suburban. It's pretty like, I mean, I'll be fair. Let me be fair. It's also very Asian, but like, it's like.
So there's no DEI in Meta, is what you're saying.
It's literally, exactly, like this idea that, oh,
yeah,
it's Google, they're in California. Yeah. This is all going to be a perception thing too, because you think someone who works in content moderation in Texas is going to be making fundamentally different decisions because they're in Texas and not in California. The only reason you move major parts of your business to Texas is because the 5th or 6th like district court that covers Texas and Louisiana is extremely favorable to conservatives. And they rule with conservatives on whatever. And so Elon Musk has been moving all of his things. People had to sign a terms of service change for X recently, saying if you sue X, Elon Musk's X, it has to go through arbitration, or it has to go through that 6th district court in Texas. X is based in San Francisco. You have to go to Texas to go to court with Elon Musk, because that is a conservative court that is highly favorable to the kind of people who build company towns. So yeah. It's just like Elon, the people were like, oh, Elon Musk used to be a liberal darling. When? Just because he made electric cars?
Yeah.
I've been
Or he said he was going to end world hunger once?
Because he was with Grimes?
I almost forgot about that. But like, he kissed up to Obama because he wanted
contracts.
He wanted subsidies, right? The Republican Party basically made it so that Elon Musk got to replace NASA.
Yeah.
Like, what does SpaceX do? Launch satellites for NASA. Why does NASA not launch their own satellites? Because they don't have enough money to make the satellites. Why don't they? They've been defunded ever since the space race. It was like, okay, cool. It's a nice vanity project for America, but it's not making the line go up. So
after Challenger exploded, they're like, nope, we can't do this.
Yeah, and so it's a shame.
I also feel like Mark, the Antichrist Zuckerberg, was like trying really hard to get Donald Trump to like make Facebook or Instagram his new Twitter.
Oh yeah.
Because he hasn't gotten back on Twitter. So he's like, oh, like maybe if I do this, like maybe,
Right.
you know, Trump will put his stuff on here too, along with Truth Social. I don't think that's going to happen, but
This is they banned him at one point.
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. He's trying to undo that whole thing.
And not only that, like there's all this, you know, it was interesting. There's this whole like consortium that was created within Facebook that was like an oversight board for moderation decisions and, you know, things like that. And they're dissolving it. They're completely getting rid of it. So the rules that would have, I mean, the implication is that the moderation decisions that Facebook made, which were, you know, the bare minimum, let's try not to show self-harm content to young teenagers type stuff, right? And even then they fail at that. But it's saying that decisions like that, or decisions to make it harder to share misinformation that could possibly cause a civil war in South Asia, or, you know, just doing all of these things, like he's acting as though those decisions were big mistakes.
Right.
And I think history looks at that going, dude, you did too little too late, and then tried to, you know, in a robot way, like pat yourself on the back for it.
I am Mark Zuckerberg. I approve this message.
But
Yeah,
like,
hi, I'm Mark Zuckerberg, and I still can't believe that after 15 years, I have a watch on my wrist.
You know what's funny? Did y'all know that Mark Zuckerberg was willing to sell Facebook to MySpace to sweet Tom Anderson? We took advantage of him for $75 million. He said no, and I'm like,
yeah,
look
and
where we could have been.
I think Tom ended up selling MySpace to News Corp, so it was owned by Fox for a minute.
Justin Timberlake. I'm like, what happened? Like after 2008, that's when things went downhill for Facebook. But yeah, like it's crazy that, you know, if they get rid of the content moderation where teenagers can see harmful content, there's no filters whatsoever, and you know, these kids drive themselves to, you know, end their own lives. Does Facebook get an exemption? Does Meta get an exemption for being sued then?
Oh yes, because I mean, like, I'm not saying like, you know, de facto, you know, in practice, probably, yeah, because Mark is doing all those things. Hey, conservatives, I'm on your side. You can't be mad at me because I'm some California rich elite, because I'm abiding by your rules of the road as far as censorship goes. I'm accepting your ridiculous perverted worldview. I'm also moving all my legal shit to Texas. So if some of these things do happen, you guys will have to have my back, because he's doing all the American cosplay, white boy summer sort of stuff to like milk boys kind of stuff. Yeah. Like he's one step away from going on the Full Send podcast. Like he's trying to appeal to, you know, like the Aiden Ross base that I'm not sure if they're the reason why Trump won per se, especially because young people really weren't voting like that. But it's the reason why he has a lot of like the reason why he has a lot of like animosity, and why they're doing all this stuff right now, because they want to be the cool kids. They want to be in the club. But like mostly on a business level, they just want to be like, let me continue making my billions. Let me, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's not going to be the first trillionaire in the world. Elon Musk probably has that on lock, but he wants to be the 10th. Let me keep doing my shit.
Literally. And what you're going to see a lot of, because he said, I mean, I don't know if he said it, but basically they're going to stop. Like you can say slurs to LGBTQ people, women, but like you can't do racism, but you know, whatever. But what you're going to see is like, especially on Instagram, is just like insane stuff in the comments.
Yeah.
That you can't do anything about it, you know?
Yeah.
And I wonder if it's going to backfire, because I feel like it's backfired with Twitter. Like Elon's promoting all this right-wing bullshit, and like
it's mostly bots.
Right. And letting people say whatever the hell they want. And a lot of people have just left or just like cut down their usage a lot. And it might end up being the same thing with Instagram. But in some places they use Facebook, but like for all intents and purposes, we'll just say Instagram, because nobody really using Facebook like that anymore. But with Instagram, if it gets like crazy like that, and there's just people saying heinous things, and you know, a bunch of conspiracy theories getting, if it becomes like the haven for QAnon 2.0, a lot of people will just be like, I'm out of here.
I already get that
Yeah.
feeling with vibes on Instagram anyways. I follow a lot of different pages just to like, have a vibe check on how different communities online feel about shit. And today was interesting because you have the celebrity pages talking about the celebrity angles of fires and the politics pages with the political angles of stuff, of course, right? But yeah, when you have, you're absolutely right. Like when you have this thing sort of happening right here, I think there's network effects where, I mean, that's why Mark Zuckerberg's so evil. Every time Facebook's numbers were going down, Mark Zuckerberg would ask 2 questions: what app has more numbers, and can we buy them?
Right.
And that answer was Instagram, and that answer was, Threads. It's like they're so big, they can build these competitors really quickly. The only issue is that Mark Zuckerberg and the people who work at Meta feel that they have this man with his unwashed ass thinks that he has figured out human communication and human beings and the way that like the values that we have, which is why anytime you're on a Meta platform, be it Facebook or Threads or Instagram, not WhatsApp, because thankfully they haven't shitified that yet, but it's starting to be like that. But you're on those apps and it's just like, this sucks. Like this doesn't feel like a good social experience. This feels like what it is, which is a very, very ambitious and complicated ads platform. Like it's just the platform is designed to show us hogs the exact right ad, and then they just turn that algorithm and go, oh, we'll just make that same algorithm choose other shit for you to watch too.
Do you know how many people are complaining? They're like, oh, I see your ads on Facebook, take away the ads. I'm like, and y'all kept saying, you know what? Remember when those people were like, I'm not paying for Facebook? I'm like, well, this is what happens. You get ads. So it's just sad. It's just sad because like that's why I've seen a lot of like LGBTQ plus people reclaim their slurs, which I'm like, y'all say F whatever, do what you want to do. But of course, there's so many like white folks who are like, well, the R word is our N word. I'm like, no, it's not. No, it's not. Don't do that. Don't do that. Like if you're a minority group, you can refer to yourself casually as like the slur because it's not something you don't hear every day, obviously. But it's like I cannot understand people just wanting to just spew that nonsense 24/7 on social media. It's like, do you guys have like it's like when Ben Shapiro reviewed Wicked and he enjoyed it. I'm like, can he please do more of that stuff and not his political nonsense?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm so done. Can I please go into like the alternate universe where Ben Shapiro is just give all those Daily Wire guys the View. Just give them the View. Let them talk. Let them yap with the girlies.
Let Ben just be his gay self, honey.
Yes. Like it was weird watching that Wicked review. I was like, he is making sense, and I agree with him. Like, what is happening?
I mean, Ben Shapiro old heads will know that he once got roasted because he, like all these conservatives, they're failed Hollywood people. And actually, that's kind of the thing. It's very easy to, as someone we were just earlier in this conversation talking about being around Hollywood people and that sort of environment, you get to, when it starts to really drag on you, is when you start to realize that a lot of those people have failed to launch and that time's never coming for them. And so they take out that kind of bitterness and anger on what was on the people around them. And that's the reason I don't go into parts of LA anymore. But
yeah, it's like, for those who don't know, I am now friends with some of the left-leaning Jubilee debaters who have owned Ben Shapiro and Matt Walsh and Charlie Kirk and Michael Knowles in the past. And a few of them said that they're going to be debating Michael Knowles, apparently. And I'm like, just mention that gay student film he did with the Ben Shapiro lookalike and see how he reacts and how he's a failed Hollywood guy.
There's like that quote that's like, scratch a liberal and a fascist bleeds, but like it's really scratch a Republican commentator and you can find something gay they did.
Yeah.
On camera.
He's not even that old. I'm like, dude, you look like you're almost 40, but you're like my age, or so is Charlie Kirk. Like
Charlie Kirk's like 32.
No, he's 31. We're the same age. Like I'm only like a few days older than him, and yet I look better than him.
Facts. I'm trying to think of like other aspects of this fire that pissed me off. There's been so many, and thanks to everyone in the comments as well. There's Pinkerbell had a really good one that was about censorship, but like, I think Pinkerbell said something that like Facebook wants to use AI for content moderation so that they can hire fewer and fewer people.
Yeah.
And again, like we're acting as though Facebook's content moderation done by humans has just been killing it. we're acting like, oh, we've never had this conversation about Facebook and content moderation. We never just generally talk about in society about the effect that meta platforms have on people of all backgrounds.
Yeah.
We're acting like all this stuff has never happened before, and by we I mean like some of these people online, but they have all like fucking goldfish brains on this stuff. So yeah.
Well, remember when Mark Zuckerberg was like, we're going to create AI profiles that can engage with each other for you to engage with, and I'm like, nobody
yeah, and everyone was like, no.
That. And they reversed that policy real quick. I'm like, it's shout out to Cody Johnson of Some World News. He did a whole video about AI and why it's awful, and he explained like the average person like us, we all hate AI, but for some reason Republicans make it out to like, yeah, everyone loves AI, blah 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 blah. And I'm like, no, we don't.
Well, it's business people. It's like
the fascists and business and tech bros. Yeah,
I've seen this in real life, and there's David Graeber, I think, has that like bullshit jobs book that kind of talks about how this stuff perpetuates in society, because AI is the buzz term of the day. Like you had crypto was 5G was it's the new thing, and so every private company in America is set up like this, where every quarter you as an executive go up to your investors and are like answering questions like prime minister's question time and like justifying and explaining the business. Inevitably one of those people will go, so what's your AI strategy? So what's your 5G strategy? So what's your, and like we could literally be talking about like this guayaki, this spot that sells the teas that I like, right? Like we could be asking we could be asking a beverage company, what's your AI strategy? And they all have to say, oh well, we use AI to bottle the cans and it's 6% faster. like there's what I'm trying to say is like there is no, from people who are actually using the stuff, there's not really a lot of interest in this AI stuff. It's actually something that we eye roll over in the culture. Yeah. But for these people, like their jobs depend on, well, some investor is going to be like, your competitor's talking a lot about AI. Are you going to be doing anything about it? And their job depends on bullshitting an answer. And so we're just on laziness. We're on layers and layers of bullshit right now. But that it comes from the fact that capitalism is based off of not this idea of meritocracy, but it's based off this idea of we've decided that the rich people are just the smartest people in the room. And so whatever dumb ideas they have, they're just like patently, obviously stupid, getting dumber and dumber by the day because they're not around normal people. We just have to go along with it. And it's like this, I think people call it like a kekistocracy sort of like to the phrase of like the dumbest, most powerful people are all in charge of what America's becoming, like oligarchy plus. And yeah, that's a lot more apt to it, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's getting to, like, it's these people who are like, you gotta pick yourself up by the bootstraps and work hard are becoming lazy because they're like, I could just make art with AI. I can just write a paper with AI. But a lot of professors are cracking down on that because it's like, no, you have to do. See, back in my day, we had to do, and you guys probably had to do too, 100 note cards, bibliographies, table of contents, first draft, second draft, third draft, final draft. Like we had to do it all.
But here's the thing, like we had to do that. We had to do that, yes, but at least by the time I was in high school, someone online had done the flashcards already. So I could just like download them there. And we had to use like Turnitin and all these other different like tools that tried to scan your papers for plagiarism or copying. So again, like the technology kind of changes, but I use AI for some of the Syndicate 23 work, and it's just a good, bullshit generator. It's not necessary. Like when you realize that a lot of when you lose a lot of text and a lot of speech, you realize that a lot of press releases and things like this are not really creative, but they get the job done. It's like, okay, yes, a robot that mimics speech is probably good at this. I think it's kind of cool when they get AI of people's voices and they're able to like dub over them like subtitles for a different language. Like I think that's genuinely like kind of cool. I
Oh, I like
I
when
was just gonna say I
AI
mostly follow these meme
Oh.
channels that are like, oh, here's
Doing that?
LeBron James and Kim Kardashian teaching you about computer programming or whatever. But it's like,
Yeah.
hilariously like off. Like,
Yeah.
oh hey,
I like
Eminem, what's the Fibonacci sequence? Like it's
I like when people are like a lot of doctors in the medical field are using AI for like very much early cancer detection, disease detection, like figure out if some people have certain genes, so they're more susceptible to certain illnesses, and like genetic factoring and all that. I'm like, that's what we should be using AI for. Actually, like science and like medical related like things like that, because that could be that's very helpful, very helpful. But with
but it
all
doesn't
the
make
people,
money.
I know,
None of that
but
stuff like science and medicine. I mean, unless it's America and we can resell that AI therapy for $11 billion that no one
yeah,
ends up paying for, but Americans just end up seeing the price,
and
then
it's
it's not going to get done.
yeah, and it's funny too because a lot of people are also like, I keep warning people, like art, like machinery, like the self checkouts, like most McDonald's employees are they're actually of color, believe it or not. A lot of McDonald's employees come from working class, of color backgrounds, and yet they want to get rid of their, DEI policies. But you can go to a McDonald's without just anyone working the register, the counter, but have just a cook cooking, in the back. Like it's gonna get to the point where it's like, what about us when we lose our jobs to AI? And like you got like, because it's cheaper, they want to cut costs, but it's like, what are we gonna do about our own income? That's where like UBI would come in, I think.
Well, I think AI, Dan, you're muted, but I think AI is great because that Drake song, the gay one to Kendrick, was amazing. That was the best thing ever. So I'm down for AI to make to redo songs of artists. I love that.
I do like the I don't
Trolling.
know if you know There I Ruined It, but he did like a little drummer boy with apple, like low, and he's like, apple bottom jeans, boots with the fur. The whole club was looking at. I was like, you know what? This is my Christmas music.
Oh yeah, I do. I have seen those. Yeah, I like the kind of creative things that people
Yeah.
can do with it, but it's like it's a tool. I remember when Matt Bender was on here, he said something really funny that was like, anytime I go to a McDonald's or whatever, and they have those self-checkout kiosks,
Yeah.
no one's ever using them. I hate them. They're always broken anyways. People are just,
Yes.
talking to the thing. And that's not, if they wanted to use those kiosks to make the workers' jobs easier, that's what the screens they have already are for, like, so they can enter in the orders. That is meant to be so, like, I don't think it was a good investment because fucking apps exist, but that was meant to be like, okay, if we have fewer people, we don't have to pay as many people to be at the check stands and all this stuff. So it really, all of this stuff is so connected. I found the other thing about the fires that's gotten me enraged.
Okay.
This allows me to be a little bit petty.
Oh.
So I was kind of talking earlier about how we need to stop kind of thinking of, oh, California, therefore Democrats, therefore far left. Because you ask anyone who lives in Oakland or San Francisco or Los Angeles and any of the confederated suburbs within, our politicians are not necessarily liberal. I mean, like,
Orange County.
I mean, you'll get people who, are they blue? Yes. Are they trying to get rid of gay marriage? Like, not while you're looking. All right. But like, when it comes to things like, can we fund public transportation? Can we make the rent stop being so damn high? Can we, like, any of this normal stuff? Liberal politicians are very not perceptive to this. And I think this is understood in most big cities by serious people. Like in New York, everyone hates the mayor and it's usually a Democrat because you kind of realize that, okay, yeah, you can elect these people who are, not for the evil party, but they are still largely incompetent. So you're getting this critique from the left, and I'm sure you can figure out who's making it by how it's going to come out. But that, actually, no, I got to say this because it's very funny. I don't like Karen Bass, the mayor of LA. I'm not even her constituent, so fucking doesn't matter. But I don't like her in the sense that I talked about this. I don't like most Democratic mayors of Democratic cities because I feel like they are fumbling the bag so hard for what they can do, and what like political realities actually could be. But Cenk Uygur, who endorsed Rick Caruso, the property owner,
Yeah.
the wealthy property owner.
He's like, this is why I didn't vote for, and it's like, no, the fires had nothing to do with why you didn't vote for her.
He had a lot of critiques about Karen Bass. I will say this. The story going around about Rick Caruso is that he had a house in the Palisades and he had his own private amount of like fire retardant that he was able to put his own fire out with and did not share with any of his neighbors.
That piece of shit, dude.
That's Cenk's guy. But anyways, like, you know,
yeah.
I think, you know, Karen Bass coming back from the trip and on the plane and that like Sky News reporter is just like hammering her with questions and she's like not saying anything. Not a great look.
No.
I think it's like, you know, the PR hasn't booted up yet. It's adjusting for the time zones or whatever, but like that's not a great look. But you know, there's the critique from the exact person you think it is that funds were misspent for things like homelessness or things like
I wonder who you're talking about.
Yeah, like fill in the lines, right? But that these budgets are being misused for things like that. And it's like, first of all, you want to know what's going to be a big concern when you have fires that destroy houses? That means you're going to have people without homes and a lot more of them. So you do want to care about that. Secondly, the way you do this critique, just more people need to do it. Yeah, Los Angeles spends, like a lot of cities, spends a lot of money for our budgets to address, you know, unhoused situations and the populations. And good reporting, good journalism, eyes can kind of tell you that, okay, there's still a lot of people living in very destitute situations, and more are, you know, coming by the day of people who end up being unhoused. And it's like, I know by Disneyland, there are people who worked at Disneyland who could not afford to live anywhere around Disneyland. And so they just set up a tent outside of Disneyland. And there's like, that's their place. Happiest place on earth. This is just how it goes. And so if you talk about where is the money going, are these services existing and actually helping unhoused people? That's a perfectly fair question, because I think a lot of mayors in Democratic cities, because of a lack of imagination, have kind of just let some consultants figure out, we'll do some needle exchanges here, we'll do some sweeps here, we'll have these services here, but they don't really have a comprehensive approach to dealing with the issue. Again, the fucking rent. But like to immediately go, oh, well, she allocated money to spend on homelessness and not on fires. It's just like,
always gotta blame the homeless people in the rich gated communities, huh?
I'm trying to go into this new year with kindness.
Yes, I
will just say that having known Anna very well, she should really know how difficult it is for firefighters to get hired in California and how that process is and how that's a broken system that has, you know, aspects of bureaucracy and issues with the Democratic Party that we've talked about, where you have a lack of political imagination here. But things we talked about 10 years ago have fucking nothing to do with homeless people. Like, I am so annoyed with this fixation. I do it like that, you know, from Chris Brown saying that someone started the fires all the way to these like dumb opinions. At least no one's saying like, guys, lost my train of thought, which is annoying. But like, there's some stupid things that people are saying, and they're at least like, yeah, I'll figure it out. Sorry.
They're just pointing fingers, and it's like, no, that's not the issue. It's not that homeless people are you know, they're trying. I mean, seriously, they really haven't solved the. You know, people think that it's easy to, you know, even move to LA, and a lot of people realize, oh, it's not, you know, and they got nowhere else to go. Some people, you know, live in like, you know, campers and like RVs or whatever. So it's like, you know, I don't know what to, you know, what to tell you people, but it's always, if the money is not being spent to actually get these people off the streets, that is definitely an issue, but that's not why we have fires in the Hollywood Hills.
I think, and Dan may agree with me, maybe. I think just let the unhoused have downtown LA. Just let them have it.
Yeah, you know
Just
what?
let them have it, dude. It's already there. It's already like halfway theirs anyway. Just let them have. Just be like, look, it's yours now. We'll do stuff somewhere else.
I think that's totally fine. Like half the buildings are empty anyways. Just like
Literally,
Yeah.
literally.
why bother? They're spending more effort having to go in and out of the buildings every time. So there's like absolutely no point.
Just
there.
let them have it, or half of it, because, dude, yo, downtown LA is like sometimes when you're there at night, especially, you're just like, yo, dude, like, I feel like a bad person. Like, I feel like a bad person that I'm like going down here for a party. Like, I feel like a shitty dystopian fucking person.
Oh no,
dude.
yeah, because like you're going to the club, you're in your like nicer fit. You're not going to downtown LA and dressing too nice. It's that's another thing transplants do is they always wear their wealth. And that's literally your mark. Like you're gonna get robbed. Like that's the only danger you have. But no,
danger.
It feels weird. Because I've been to
Bring an extra bag of clothes.
I've been to these places where yeah, absolutely. But like I've been to these places where like you're literally walking over people to get to a club.
Oh no, literally.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like with the hurricane. Like with Hurricane Helene, like my mom and I noticed there's a lot more homeless people on the corners of Walmart and Publix and like street corners, asking, my house,
because it turns out hurricanes make people homeless.
Yes. It
turns out climate change adds to the homeless crisis.
So whenever my mom and I have like, sometimes we'll see someone, with time, whatever, when we're coming into the store, and so we get like a few little things, like little snacks for them to munch on, and then we also get them like a few like singles, just for something, so they have something to eat. And a lot of them are artists too. Like they gave my mom like a flower that they made. One time we had bags and bags and bags of food that a customer gave us that we're not gonna eat it. And so we see this mother with her two little babies, and my mom and I are like, let's give all this to her and her kids instead. Oh boy.
Sorry, I was playing some B-roll of yeah, that's probably someone flying into LAX. Right. Or flying out of LAX. So yeah, all the lights you see down there is Santa Monica. Yeah. And when Santa Monica starts to get hilly, that's when it becomes the Pacific Palisades. Gone.
Yeah.
There's reports saying that like, and this is not an unsubstantial neighborhood. I mean, like it's, as far as geographically speaking, again, because it's built into a hill, there's not a lot of people there, especially compared to Santa Monica, which is like massive, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, there are reports that like 90% of the houses in the Palisades are gone. And yeah, like I know people who like, it's the American dream story where they came back after World War II, got a house for like $7 and like just kept
ready for this housing market to crash. Let's go.
Yeah. But it's like one of my other favorite places in LA is Rancho Palos Verdes. And when we were talking about the rain, I was thinking about this too. I like hiking there and it's away from the transplant. So give me a break. Also San Pedro, pretty dope. But literally parts of the main road that hug the ocean are sinking into the ocean.
Yeah.
Right. Like they had to condemn a bunch of houses because we were getting a lot of rain and a lot of mudslides, and it's really bad. The only nice thing is that Trump's LA golf course is right over there, so maybe that one's gonna fall into the ocean too. So hey, you take your wins where you can get them. But it's
the solution to that situation is have people sell those homes, like Ben Shapiro says all the time.
Just sell your house. Yeah, sell a condemned house. It's literally, I filmed part of the like electric vehicle documentary on this road because it's like really nice. And I went back on the road again like 2 years later, and yeah, the entire thing's about to fall into the ocean. It used to be like this really smooth paved road. Now it's like jagged and messed up, and you have to be like very careful going over it. And it's like it's really bumpy. Like this climate change stuff is really happening, and it's happening to all kinds of people. Now, a lot of these areas are like some of the nicer areas. I mean, they're by the beach and it's mountainy and that kind of stuff, but I still smell the smoke. I still can't really like go outside like that. I can't like run or anything.
Well,
So
it was funny last night when Hassan was, because he live streamed himself rescuing Will Neff and Caroline Kwan, and he's driving. He's like, "Wow, there's like no traffic on the away from the heading towards the fires," and I'm like,
"No shit." Grab a bucket, buddy.
Did they? Is it true did they close like Hollywood Boulevard, like when it came to like traffic, and try to redirect people because the traffic was bad looking at it last night. Like it was insane.
I'll be honest, like kind of like when I was saying earlier, when Bam was like, I was like, oh, Sunset Boulevard, the whole thing is pretty chill, and you're like, like they closed down Hollywood Boulevard on like a Tuesday because someone shot fireworks like in the middle of the street. Like it's not like it's such a street that's so far away from me and close it all the time that I wouldn't know for sure. But I do know that like most of Sunset Boulevard, which is mostly the street that like hugs the mountains once you get out of like Hollywood and West Hollywood and into Kamala Harris's hood in Brentwood. That's when you start seeing a lot of closures, because like that's the main road, and then everything on one side of the road is basically the city again, and everything on the other side of the road is the mountains and the hills, and like Bel Air, all that kind of stuff. All these places that sound like hoity-toity and nice. Also, UCLA is there, so like a lot of college students directly affected by this. Like, yeah, there are definitely college students that just like live in the area that can be affected. It's really
Now, Dan, I have a question. When it comes to like the warnings, like I've heard people say, "Oh, I got one like little warning about like potentials," and then there's like the secondary warning, and then there's the third warning. It's like yellow, orange, red, or whatever. Like how, like if you get that very first warning, should you start like packing some stuff just to prepare if it ever gets like up to like the third or fourth or whatever, how many warnings they give you, like depending on like how severe it is?
If you're in California, you should just have a to-go bag at all times, like earthquakes. So like, yeah, absolutely. I'll put it like this. I have a friend who is, in the Valley area of LA, like
Valley,
West Hills, Chatsworth, Northridge area, that type of thing. And 2 hours before we started Power Report, the Kenneth fire started over there. And literally within those 2 hours, my friend started this morning by saying, "Hey, thank you all. I'm very far away from the fires, but I appreciate you checking in." And ended the day with, "I just had to evacuate my house." These winds are, God, I have to do the non-metric calculation, like 80, 90 mile per hour winds. And they're blowing these embers everywhere. So that's kind of the thing, is like what you're talking about is you have like it's like an advisory, and then like it's either like an advisory or a recommendation, and then like it's a mandatory thing. Cause it's like we're not gonna come drag your ass out of the we're gonna come after you're dead to drag your ass out of the house if we
it's like people who stay for the hurricanes. I'm like, you should know. You've been living in Florida for how many years, and you've moved how many times throughout the state of Florida?
But like
get your flood covered.
It's a little bit weird because again, with earthquakes, everyone here is like, okay, yeah, fine. Bam and I have talked about this all the time, but like I don't even get out of bed if it's below a 7. I honestly spend the first couple moments of an earthquake just kind of feeling it out to see like, is it worth leaving my desk?
Yeah,
like you just kind of get used to it. And I imagine folks who are just like, okay, I live in Florida, hurricanes are a fact of life. I wouldn't be messing with a hurricane like that though. I saw Katrina. We're good. No way.
Yeah. No way. I was in the ocean when Katrina was approaching. We were in Beaufort at the beach, and the waves were just crazy. And my mom was like, "Oh my God, be careful!" And I'm like, "I can swim. I'm 12."
I was just telling Bam that I was in New Orleans last year, and I am a masochist, and so I went to the lower 9th Ward, and it's still devastated.
20 years later.
Yeah, there's buildings that have not been fully taken down yet. There's some just like obvious empty plots of land that just have like overgrown now, but there's some places where like beyond mold and flood from the waters is like all through that shit. So yeah, I'd say because of how, going back to the fires and going back to your question, Christina, it's so, the fires can spread so quickly and start so quickly that, I
There's no
mean,
time.
if you're living in the hills like that and, you know, you're seeing the orangeness from the smoke and you can see it like that, you should have your to-go bag already. And once you start getting those advisories, like I would just leave on like an air quality thing. But yeah, there's no, and some folks are saying like, I mean, maybe they're talking about their own thing, but
Yeah.
I know LA has air raid sirens, but I don't think they work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Alabama, there was one time, it was back in like again 2005 when we went to Alabama to visit some family, and as we were leaving, we were staying at a hotel, and we heard tornado sirens, and my mom was so excited about, you know, experiencing her first tornadoes that she sat outside the hotel room, and I'm like, "What are you doing?"
know.
And then she finally saw her first tornado, because we did get a few tornadoes, like about oh god, what, like 15, 16, something like 2009, and there was it was behind our house, and I was at my grandmother's, my Uma's, and she was like, "I never want to see another tornado again." I'm like, "I told you you would probably regret that." And we got nothing. We got like no storms. Like we went outside, the clouds were parting, and I'm like, God was watching us.
I got no interest in tornadoes. Back in England, when I learned about tornadoes, I'm like, wait, what? Wait, just the whole middle of the country, in addition to just like being not. I'm gonna stop myself before I get in trouble. But
Well, Tornado Alley is because of, you know, it's because of climate change. Tornado Alley is spreading.
No,
it's
it's the
not
homeless.
it's just the Great Plains, and it's not just the Great Plains anymore.
No, but yeah, Bam and I were talking about how we got real like evacuation emergency alerts on our phones, and we're very far away from most of the action and the madness and stuff. So yeah, it's just been very, very interesting to see.
Yeah.
I would definitely reiterate too. Like I've never gotten an evacuation notice, like a real one anyway. But for sure, like if you're starting to see the fire, kinda, it's time to go. Like,
Yeah.
like if you
Like,
can
I
see,
can
if you see the
Russia.
fire, you're late.
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
like the
you can see-
orangeness you were saying. Like if you're seeing like the orangeness, like yeah, it's time to go.
I can see
Yeah.
Russia from my house.
Because the thing people don't realize, especially with LA, again, this is kind of getting back to the Californians, but the city is like held together by a shoestring network of like 2-lane roads.
Yeah.
And so especially like the older parts of the city that are you know, the Palisades, the ones that are like more mountain like, and yeah, West Hollywood, those kind of places, just like a patchwork of, and we talk about the gridlock, we talk about it all the time now, evacuations, right? So that you have to think about, okay, traffic is bad on the 101 during rush hour anyways. What about when everyone's running for their lives at the same time? So that's why you really got to think like ahead, because not like you can take the subway to safety in LA.
Hey, you know, like,
Again,
even-
the subway takes you to downtown. That's not safe.
It's like these people that are like up in the Palisades and Malibu, and you know, like the people that like really
Those are
live in,
NIMBYs. They won't allow the subways even there.
like they like even, but the people that like really live in like LA, like they live in like, you know, Inglewood and like, you know, South Central or whatever, like South LA or like even like East Hollywood or something like that, like the Echo Parks or whatever, Silver Lakes.
Duarte.
Is that even LA? But you know, they're not even really like having to, like these people that live in like Los Angeles kind of proper are not really dealing with this. It's really like, you know, aside from the, you know, that like over there, like Altadena area and stuff like that. Like,
I mean, I was just gonna say like the
that's-
smoke in general, even if like their house is not on fire, like that's a
Yeah,
mud. I know
but-
people evacuating just for that, and yeah.
No, yeah, for sure, and they should. But like that like imminent danger thing is like, it's just not usually the people that are dealing with like those type of circumstances kind of are right now, you know?
Yeah, but I mean, that said, the Sunset Fire is, you know, there's a lot of hilly sort of places, but once you get towards Studio City, Universal City, like those are very populated working class areas too, where they can see the orange. Now,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where I had to double take, and the emergency alert that got sent out was a fake. Wonderful timing, LA County. Or at least it was the sense that like it was sent to everyone in the county, and they didn't like narrow it down enough. So really scary. But yeah, there are. It's very. There's a lot of land. Like there's just a lot of like flat land, and at that point, like other than the wind conditions and the Santa Anas, like there's just not enough like fire fuel to really go that far.
Yeah.
But you know, it can cause a lot of damage again.
Yeah, and smoke is bad enough. Honestly, the air quality is bad enough too. Like it's like, especially for people's pets and things, like it can be really bad.
I know lots of people with pets who are evacuating. So there's one tweet that I just had to continue reading. Hey, this was from PogPro, Mike. ProgPro. I mean, hey, I'm the mayor of the town that always catches on fire, and I decided to defund the fire department because cops really need that money for a tank to use on homeless people. It would suck if a fire broke out, but luckily that never happens here in town that always catches on fire. It's like, yeah, this is just going to keep happening and happening and happening, and it's going to get substantially worse.
And people act surprised too. I'm like, come on, people, it's California. It always catches on fire. That's like saying like being shocked when Florida gets hit by a hurricane.
And you know what? We're entering the Trump administration, so that's going to happen.
We're going to nuke it. We're going to nuke it all. That's what we're going to do. We're going to nuke the hurricanes. We're going to nuke the fires. Not like a nuke's going to make it worse, but whatever. I'm glad that a lot of animal shelters have evacuated, and that there are hotels that are opening for pets and some of their owners as well. I'm like, thank God, because hey, if anything happened to my kittens, I was just I'd be devastated. But when it comes to like flooding from like leftover of a hurricane, or like the hurricane moving more towards like the center where I live, because that's what happened with Helene. It was supposed to move like right, but it moved more like left where I'm at. And I live in an upstairs apartment, so and Dan knows this too. So it's like, oh, flooding. We live up, but a lot of us have some roof damage. I got like a spot right here that they got to fix. Like, at least it's not leaky. It just came through the roof.
Yeah, I get kind of cocky sometimes, like, oh, I'm very far away from this stuff. Like, it's not going to affect me. But I don't live in a low-lying area, and when it was raining, like raining a lot, the water was coming to my first floor. And I was like, okay. I'm like, all right, this is bad.
No, Dan, last, I guess it was 2 years ago now,
I live on a hill.
That we had that Hurricane Hillary or whatever, that was in August. But like, I want to say it was like May or April, we had like crazy rains. And it was getting wild. Like, it was flooding like crazy out here.
Yeah, the hurricane fun.
Oh no, you don't understand. People will like put skis on the back of their like trucks and just ride through the water. Yeah,
in Florida.
Again, America, there's so much more that unites us and divides us.
I know, they're like having fun during like a natural disaster. Like, I swear to God, like, can you imagine if 9/11 happened today? People like, yo, the buildings are on fire. Check this out.
They did that. They did that then too. There's videos.
I mean,
just like recording.
Yeah.
There's a whole documentary about like people's perspective from their perspective from 9/11 from filming that day. But it's like, imagine it going like on Instagram or TikTok live, and you're like, hey, there's a terrorist attack happening right now. What? Like,
oh no, if there's a terrorist attack in LA, Hassan would stream it. Like, and that's not necessarily a knock on Hassan. It's just like, that's the content world we live in right now, right?
Yeah.
So,
but it's just funny to me that like watching all the Hurricane Helene TikToks where people were doing like the SpongeBob Krusty Krab pizza, or they're doing like Earth Song by Michael Jackson with the winds and the rain, and I'm like, oh no. And then they're holding up like doing that doodle bomb, and I'm like, this is I'm so sad that hopefully tomorrow's the deadline, because TikTok is going to be banned in the United States on the 19th of this month if someone doesn't step in by tomorrow. Trump, save us.
I doubt it's gonna happen, but
You're our only hope.
Yeah, I think it can happen. The reason why I was doubtful of it happening before, was that at the end of the day, like, the ByteDance Corporation is a business. They have lobbyists, they have lawyers. The government likes to make little examples here and there, but like, one of my good, some of my followers, Cities by Diana, had said, okay, are we coming for Temu and Shein next? How serious are we about these? Like, how serious are we about, these Chinese companies infiltrating?
Yeah, it's fashion.
Yeah, I have
Especially
no idea.
Temu. I mean, Temu, they're like Shein and Temu, like those clothes will cause like rashes and like diseases. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, I watch all the videos. Yeah,
watch them first.
Yeah. Get all the metals out. That's what I do when I get something from Shein. But I get a lot of my clothes from Killstar, which is like the gothic, like a little bit more bougie. Beetlejuice.
Nice.
But yeah, it's
there it is. Sasha Gia said the Real Inn, a restaurant on PCH that had a humorous fish themed marquise, is gone. Which is, that's one of those, like, if you've ever been on that string with PCH, like, that's a classic spot. That's a shame. Yeah, the amount. Yeah, I started the show and continue to be like kind of so broken was because, like, I've seen landmarks go up in flames, like not in person, thankfully, but I've seen like videos of it like constantly nonstop. Bam, we are the smut film now. The joke's on us. There's a couple little other random things, and like you really see conservatives like circling the drain here, and it's gonna work. Charlie Kirk complained that. Go ahead.
I could not care less about James Woods losing his house, knowing what he said about Gaza. I'm sorry, dude. Disney still uses you to voice Hades. You'll be fine. You help produce Oppenheimer. You'll be fine, James. Don't worry. You'll be fine.
Yeah, there was someone who had said, is it wrong to hope the Republicans treat masking during the fires the same way they did masking during COVID? In the chat, someone said that. I'm like, hey, man.
It was Aaron.
Aaron, yeah, it's like we're just asking questions.
Oh boy.
But yeah, Charlie Kirk calls for eliminating sign language interpreters during emergency briefings because it's, quote, distracting.
Oh my goodness.
They've always been around. Some schools teach sign language as a requirement too.
Yo, when I was doing my vow of silence, I wish I knew sign language. It would have made so many different things easier versus like writing a real notebook. But like, damn.
No, we don't want to hear you talk or sign.
Fair enough.
Something. I don't know. I don't know.
Open Secrets reporting that the top recipients from oil and gas were Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, and 2 words for you: cheap dates. I mean, 1 million. I guess I would be happy that Donald Trump is getting this much more, like more than twice as much as Ted Cruz. Like, I think on principle that's fine, but 1.5 million. Well, not great.
I wish I had $1.5 million to go with.
I wish I had $1.5 to go with.
Yeah, same.
Let me think about what else is here. Oh, this is the great thing. Much like in Hurricane Katrina, where the insurance companies, because the market is so good, were screwing people over. Like, I remember the joke from the Boondocks was they had their family from New Orleans come to visit, and the joke was that they paid for flood insurance, but because they didn't have wind insurance, they lost their house.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, there's another there's like a catch-22 that's happening in California as well, and in a number of other states, to be fair, where insurers are just like, no, not anymore. We're not even. Yeah. We're leaving the state. Actually,
State Farm, I
done.
think, was doing that. Also, I got 2 words: Luigi Mangione.
Yeah, there's the meme of someone the character select screen in Smash Brothers and just selecting Luigi. No, but like State Farm, who I just had to get off of their car insurance because they just jacked it up insanely, and for once it wasn't my fault.
We got Allstate. We're in good hands.
Yeah. Yeah, but like they won't like you need home insurance. I'm not sure if it's like a legal or an illegal thing, but like most of the time when you have like a mortgage or whatever, it's like, okay, you need home insurance. Like fucking please insure the bank's house.
You
Like,
have to have
so
car insurance.
yeah, that's for sure legal. I just, believe it or not, have never owned a home, so I don't know what the rule is on that. But they're they're just deciding not to insure houses anymore. And on the one hand, it's like, okay, well, how often can we really keep rebuilding the Pacific Palisades, especially when this time it doesn't have 80 years left in her? Like, maybe there's like an open question on that from an insurance perspective. But again, we seem to be totally fine, and by we I mean conservatives and liberals who are not calling this out. We seem to be totally fine with the concept that as long as we take these public decisions and let private corporations decide how we experience these things, then there's no other way to do it. Because again, we're thinking like some bureaucrats at wherever State Farm's headquarters is. They feel like an Illinois company to me. I don't know why. I just feel that in my soul, like somewhere in the Midwest.
No offense, Ravana.
No, JB Pritzker joke here, but like I feel like State Farm, like we're letting people's livelihoods be chosen by these bureaucrats, these nameless bureaucrats at companies like State Farm. And yeah, you won't be able to get like everyone's insurance is going to go up. Like you had more cars crashing and people needing to like, replace cars in California and stuff like that. So everyone's insurance goes up because that's how risk pools work. You have to justify that higher cost. Cars are getting more expensive. Because of the one-sided beef America has with China, we're like not shipping in a lot of car parts that would be easier to use. So like we're just like fumbling upon fumbling upon fumbling here. So this insurance policy cancellation stuff is going to be really messed up because people are going to be like, well, which is the question I seem to ask every time I deal with my insurance company, whether it's car insurance or health insurance, what the fuck do we even pay for this for?
Yeah, ours is like almost $300 for car insurance, and rent went up, so that's like almost $1,200, and then you gotta pay the electric bill. But we got one of those, like, our electric bill for some reason is always really good, thank God. So, but we do like it's like the payment option where it's like, oh, if you pay this much, you only have to pay so little next month or whatever, and vice versa or something like that. But like, God damn, work has been very, very slow. So it's like, my mom's like, I gotta pay the car insurance. I'm like, how much is it again? And she's like 270 something. And I'm like, whoa.
I don't know. That's a lot to for car insurance for that Maserati your mom drives. So that's
yeah. We've had a history with that car. So
yeah.
Well, I heard something about fire insurance for homes getting more expensive. I don't know if that's just going to be like in certain areas or like I don't know how big that bubble is going to be, but yeah, I mean,
there's already places in the Bay Area where because of the aforementioned Pacific Gas and Electric Corporation, you can't get insurance because it's like, your power company is too expensive for our insurance company, so that's your problem now with homeowner.
Whatever happened with that lawsuit though? Did they ever have to pay? I kind of can't remember what happened with that. I mean, it's not important.
This is America. So it's America. So basically, long story short, nothing. Like, they went bankrupt, but they're a public-private utility, so they can't go. They're too big to fail, right?
Right.
There's not going to be some other company competing with the Pacific Gas and Electric Corporation, wiring up electricity to every. You think the geography of LA is hilly?
Right.
There's no competition for that. So PG&E can just F up forever. Like that's kind of the deal. Like when Con Edison was having the blackouts in the early 2000s. It's like, what are you gonna do? No one competes with Con Edison. No, literally got Edison in the name.
He invented the shit.
They'll probably go like, please, Elon Musk, sir, we need you to make X electricity or whatever. And like he'll do his own like private thing.
He'll probably do that. I mean, he already wants. He literally was calling his video like X videos, and I'm like, dude, that website already exists. You well know what's on that website.
There is one last fire related thing I want to talk about based on like the rhetoric of things happening around here. But the issue of whether Karen Bass gave more money to the police. And I think the way this question is being asked and framed is kind of, I literally hate and didn't want to use this phrase because everything's burning, but it's like missing the forest for the trees. In the sense that they're looking at how money was allocated in 2023's 2024's budget and what the fire department asked for and what they ultimately got. And again, this opposes the idea that we're all born yesterday and we don't all know that fires happen in California and in Los Angeles always. So like if we're going to be talking about did Karen Bass increase the budget or did she decrease the budget for the 2023 and 2024 year? Humans didn't find out about fire in 2023, 2024, right? Like that's not how it worked. So it's honestly more before Karen Bass. It goes back to this earlier thing of Democrats have a real lack of imagination when they don't have to try. It goes back to even PG&E where it's like, okay, this is California. We're Democrats. Until we piss you off so badly that the state goes red, which happens every, honestly, we're overdue for it. We're always going to be in power. So there's never any sort of like give or take from these politicians. They're just like, yeah, just continue doing this program. Let me cut a ribbon here. Let me do a ceremonial this and that. Let's name a post office. And yeah, through successive Democratic, mayorships, right? This continuation of cutting fire budgets, making it difficult for firefighters to be trained and then get like hired for the forces, like having enough firefighters just like on call in general. They're sending, this is customary and this happens all the time. Like during 9/11, LA sends firefighters to the cleanup for September 11th. But yeah, San Francisco is sending their fire. San Francisco, a city that's damn near gone up in fire twice, is sending their fire department to us because they're like, damn, we don't need them. They do. So like, there's so many successive issues that are wrong here. It's like, yeah, you can approach the homelessness issue by saying, oh, clearly the money's being wasted on homelessness because I still have to walk over homeless people when I'm going to the club, right? There's one way to look at it. And then there's the way of like, the outcomes we're getting from whatever homelessness like programs we have essentially are like a couple of really expensive toilets that always don't work, that are just like out in random parts of the city, really dehumanizing, sweep processes, but also like bungalows, like tiny homes, like, oh, we did it. We solved homelessness, not by lowering rent, but just like that kind of stuff. We can talk about where these programs are failing, but once you get to like once you lose sight of not just how much money, but how the money is being spent and how that's happening over not just one fiscal year budget, but over like a long series of time, that's what we've got to pay attention on. Like that's what people have to focus on. So it's just so much like.
So you're saying that there should be more firefighters to hose the homeless people off the sidewalks.
Yeah, and we need to make sure that we always have the right amount of pressure in our fire hydrants, so that if we can't have the 1950s diners anymore because those are all getting shut down in place of like Erewhons and Gelsons, then we can at least keep the hoses running.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, of course.
I remember when we had the one ice storm 11 years ago, 2014. It was bad. That was when we also had like an earthquake, and I'm like, why is the house shaking?
Yeah, I would be so afraid of ice where you are because like all the roads are narrow and dark. Yes. And that's just like a black ice nightmare.
I mean, most of those grocery stores are already empty, and I'm like, guys, we're getting like some rain in like the afternoon into Saturday morning, and it's over. Like I don't get, but like a lot of tree services that helped up with the cleanup are still in business in the area that came from like the north. So, and they've been helping with. I mean, they still haven't gotten rid of all the trees and debris from Helene. They got until the Masters to do that.
Yo, you're in the South, but those trees are going to be there forever. They're going to use exactly the parts they don't need for the golf like thing, and then it's just like, yeah, we're done. I don't care.
Yeah, well, this poor neighborhood will keep all the trees there.
I realized the last thing. Sorry, I'll make this quick. these Democratic politicians, one of what was some of the, I forget exactly who it was, but, and again, LA's a confederacy. There's like city managers and small mayors and shit like that. But one of the things I saw early this morning after being exhausted and evacuating my cousins, I was looking and someone was like, our top priority right now is making sure that looting doesn't occur.
Oh my God. Yeah, everything is burnt down. What do you mean by looting?
I think I literally tweeted like, what are they going to loot? Ash? Like, what are you talking about? Like, people's fireproof safes melted down and caught on fire.
Yeah.
Like, they're done. We're done. Like, there's nothing. It's a bougie grocery store. Also, as someone who's plant-based. It's a bougie grocery store, and as someone who is plant-based, I have to go to a lot of bougie grocery stores all the time. And Bam's gonna hate me for the sentence, but one of my favorite places on earth, the Pacific Palisades Gelsons, is burned down. And like no one's trying to like break into CVS right now to get some like horny goat weed or whatever, right? Like their homes burned down.
Yeah,
their cars burned down.
Everyone that has cars is leaving. They're stuck in traffic. There's no time. Ain't nobody got time for looting and rioting right now. Like, what the hell, people?
If you work for
first instinct,
yeah, like if you work for the city, the same city where like there's a story of people are putting out fires with their own garden hoses, because which there's something amazingly Texan about that. It's like, let me get my gun. The cops aren't going to be here. The cops are 3 counties away. I got to handle this myself. Kind of thing about that. But of course, it's Californian, so we're pouring like almond milk on the fires. But I'm about to go from like really funny to really dark. In Altadena, actually, where like a lot of people were being evacuated. It's like a really historically Black neighborhood. You had someone who was like found dead in their house. And they were last seen basically like holding a holding like a garden hose, trying to put out parts of their house. And he was actually found, like when they came back and found him, he was burnt and dead and holding that garden hose. Like, if your first priority is looting, and that's the city, like this is the region that's going on.
Yeah.
Rather than saying the phrase I've been having a lot of fun with lately, I'm gonna say that I'm gonna at least call you a Republican and not a Democrat. Like, and I shouldn't get like weird looks for being like, yeah, these people are conservative as hell. Like, they basically just like want people to die. Like they're always looking out for business rather than their own elected constituents' interests. Like,
yeah,
they can go to hell. I don't care.
Yeah.
This is a waste of my time.
I don't know if you guys remember this. This actually made national news, but like in Aiken, there was an elderly couple who were holding each other in bed and died when Hurricane Helene hit their house. Like, a lot of people were talking about it. It even made like People Magazine or whatever. And I'm like, damn, this is like a really, really, really dark story. Like, it was sad.
I mean, these are the realities of we commodify housing, and if poor people's only shot at, not retiring by putting their grandchildren in debt is home ownership. And if climate change is making home ownership that much more difficult, in addition to, all the other factors in capitalism, press button for Luigi. Like, that's where we're at now.
Apparently he's no longer solitary confinement. Good for him. Why was he there in the first place?
I'm hearing that he's getting so much money in his commissary that he's paying for other inmates who are there, who are in turn like protecting him. I'm like,
using his privilege for good. Love him.
That's called getting extorted, but okay.
I mean, they seem to like him generally. There's one prison where they were when he was being held in Pennsylvania. They were the prisoners were shouting out at the camera people on HLN, which, I'm glad we at least allow HLN in prison. we used to look at Anders Breivik like he shot up like a whole island of white people. How come he gets a PlayStation?
Yeah. I mean, also too, it's not like mass shooters get the perp walk that he got. Like, I was like, what is happening?
I made a lot of comparisons to the Luigi fervor and Christopher Dorner, and there's a reason why people liked the clearly whacked like former cop who turned on the agency and like
That
went
guy?
berserk. Yeah. And one of the reasons was, during the whole manhunt, LAPD ended up shooting a bunch of people who were definitely not Dorner. Bam was straight hiding in a hole.
Me and Caesar had a scary run-in for a second, actually.
Oh my god! Wait, really? Can you tell?
Oh,
us?
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, we were going on the freeway, and there were like cops blocking the entrance over at the block in in Anaheim, basically. And we're just like they already had shot up two like 5 foot tall Mexican ladies in a van delivering newspapers. So us two big black guys in the car, I'm like, we're dead, dude. We're about to die.
You survived the worst.
I think that we saw that they were like checking cars or whatever, and we just like went straight. We just like didn't get on the freeway because we were terrified.
I would have been too.
They shot up a van of two maybe they were I can't remember. It was two like Hispanic ladies. They shot the van over 100 times and killed them.
Like 40s, 50s. Like these were
Yeah.
very. Even if like they're both standing on one standing on the other's shoulders in a trench coat, that still doesn't get you a Christopher Dorner.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, me and Caesar thought we were cooked.
Yeah, man, that's no. Anytime I see one of those especially on the freeway, because California doesn't really have the Texas Rangers or like Georgia State Police, but we do have California Highway Patrol, and they operate on different rules. So you generally avoid those. You know to avoid those.
It reminds me of with oh god, what was I gonna say? With Luigi's whole thing, and again, I just can't get that stupid perp walk out of my head because it's really. You had to do show a message that the rich people, we care more about them than about you, and I'm like, that's not going to be going well. But I remember watching Jamie Peck on Chris Cuomo, and she's like, I would rather people burn their health insurance, but their bills in front of these State Farm and United Health or whatever. She's like, I'd rather have that because that could send a strong message. I'm like, let's do that. Let's get going. She's like, the fact that it took one guy to shoot a healthcare CEO. Oh my god, we gotta freak out about one dude. Come on.
It was another one of those Rorschach tests for what do you actually care about? Are you well, murder is scary and we really shouldn't do that, or the reality of what a healthcare company does in America? It's they just do murder with paperwork. He did it with a bullet. And frankly, again, if we're looking at the kill count, maybe I'm not choosing Luigi as a character because he sucks. That United Healthcare CEO killed way more people. Hey, he's number one on the board. If you're playing Modern Warfare, which apparently they've made 3 Modern Warfare 2s, which makes no sense. Yeah, that CEO guy is up near the top. But
yeah.
Anyways. I'm fired out. There's some other little, that's concerning.
Did you see Trump and Obama, buddy? George W. Bush didn't even acknowledge him, which I'm like, oh man, he hates him so bad for ruining the Republican Party's legacy, as if he didn't also help too.
Well, I think that's a really illustrative thing of, Obama and Trump joking together. On the one hand, they're both very politician. They're affable, personable people, right? Hate both of them. Believe me, I do. But they have a retail political style. They're generally they can light up a room. They have that ability. So yeah, there might have been riffing or talking, whatever. They both hate each other. But it's one of those weird times where a president died, so you're all sitting in the same room together. So yeah, you're shooting shit. But it was such a moment that it made it very clear the whole the George Carlin quote, "It's a big club and you ain't in it."
Yep.
It's very similar of what Democrats were, critics of Democrats were saying after the just this 2024 election, where You're gonna call the man a fascist and say, well, we're gonna work with the fascist. Like
Yes,
immediately
Chuck
afterwards.
Schumer's like, yeah, we'll pass I'll help you buy Greenland if you work with us on some bills. Like, come on, he ain't gonna do that. Like, it's so weird seeing, it's been a while since we've done the show, but it's just so sad seeing all these people just bow before Trump and say, John Fredman's already the next Joe Manchin. He's like, I'm meeting with Trump in Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to help him pass his bills, his policies. I'm going to do it. And I'm like, oh boy, this is
He doesn't even need your help.
Yeah. They already got majority, so.
If I'm going to, I can't help myself here because it's so easy to make this petty connection. The same, like Obama and Trump being buddy talking to each other.
Yeah.
Same vibe as Cenk and Charlie Kirk. Like,
yeah,
it's like
he wants to abolish Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Charlie Kirk. He wants to do that. He wants to erase Martin Luther King Jr. from like history. And I'm like, that's the guy you want to have a beer with?
Cenk doesn't care.
The difference between like, talking to regular Republicans and talking to Charlie Kirk is that, your Republican neighbor or the guy down the street hasn't spent 15 years going to college campuses, raising millions of dollars from wealthy rich people to make the fires worse in California.
Yeah.
Right. Like to make it so imagine being in Pasadena today. Half the city is on fire. The other half of the city is on a water warning because the contaminants from the fire got into the water reservoirs while they're trying to fight the fire. So it's like, okay, not only is it really hot and you can't breathe, you can't drink water here.
Yep.
That's
water
like
purifiers are not going to help.
That's success to a type of liberal who exists both within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, it was very frustrating.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this Trump term. At this point, I'm like, like let him do what he has to do. If it ruins us, so be it. We were going down that trajectory anyway, so it's like,
Yeah, that's the American people wanted.
Yeah, you guys want this. Don't bitch when gas prices are not 99 cents and that the cost of milk is like 10 cents, which that's impossible to do.
The other thing I was going to say really fast, I was thinking about that Bush thing, was that Bush, again, this is the Iraq war, like this is this guy, right? And, it's also Dick Cheney, but like the reason Bush hates Trump is less for anything Trump stands for. It's less for even Trump's image. It's the fact that Trump got into power on the Republican Party by shitting on George W. Bush's legacy. Because all of those people, all of those presidents can only agree that their legacy is the most important thing in their lives. And the American people don't even crack the top 100 on that list.
Yeah. You know what? With Jimmy Carter's funeral makes me think that, one day Trump's going to die and he's going to have that great to Florida, to DC, and then go back to being buried in Florida. I'm like, when he lies in that Capitol and people get to pay their respects, I'm going to go up to that casket and flip it.
Dude, Donald Trump's going to outlive Kamala Harris, dude. Like, evil just doesn't die.
Oh.
Also, we will see if Trump becomes another George Bush with Iran. I still got it on my mind.
Mm-hmm.
I hope it doesn't happen, but it will be interesting to see if it does, how people react. Left, right, and center. But I would not be surprised. I really think that it's on his mind. He already said he hasn't ruled it out or anything can happen or something like that. I think he said anything can happen in regards to a war with Iran. He said that if Hamas doesn't return the hostages by the day that he's inaugurated, there'll be hell to pay in the Middle East. He didn't say with Hamas. He said the Middle East. And
Trump will free Palestine people real quiet.
Oh my God. Yeah. Extremely quiet. And all the black Trump people. I'm like, yeah, like they're like saying like he hasn't appointed like any black people in his cabinet or whatever. I don't know though, but
where's Tim Scott?
Like it's somebody shit. But I'm just looking at the situation over there and I'm like, Like, if Trump wants to do what he wants to do with like no pushback, start a war.
Yeah, that's
know?
just,
That's how you do it.
yeah,
You can get away with anything.
yeah, yeah. It's sad. It's there are certain things like he's distracting us from the fact he can't. He even said he can't lower prices, and yet people are like, well. He single-handedly can lower prices. I'm like, but you voted for him because he told you he was going to lower prices. You think the president controls? I'm like, that's the Federal Reserve. Like,
or it's the people that own the grocery stores.
Yes, price gouging. Well, also, dude, like, in order for that means cost of living's got to go down. Like, everything's going to have to go down.
And that's going to affect the people who are way higher on the priority list for Donald Trump than the American people, which are his donors and the owners of capital. Yeah.
Right.
There's a Venn diagram situation going on there.
Yeah, because a lot of them were business owners that stored the capital.
True.
A lot of failed real estate agents.
Yeah.
There's some context here I think is relevant since we're talking about this anyways. But yeah, there's this kind of like story here where as we're leading up to Trump's like actual inauguration, also just great photo they used here. Yeah, we had that. We want to change the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. We want to annex Panama and Greenland. Like there's this, there's going to be this opinion that Trump is bloviating. And I think that's, probably the more likely one to be here. But like you can't, if you can't take a leader of a country with the kind of imperial status that America does have already, because why we got military bases in Germany? Why we got military bases in Japan? Like, ask yourselves these questions. I think that the way Trump is going in here is not some. We got over the whole Trump is a dove conversations really early in 2017. So thankfully you're not hearing that shit anymore. But we're about to see some of the actual dangers of this. I mean, for their part, most of these leaders are just brushing this off. Like Trudeau, rip in peace, more on that later, was like, in response to Trump saying that Canada will be the 51st state, or joking, Trudeau's like, yeah, not a chance in hell. I think someone from British Columbia is like, yeah, actually, we'll take California, Oregon, and Washington. You're welcome. So like, I think there's a sort of like, okay, it's like, okay, you want to play this tough game, guy? Like, we can do this too. I think that's how world leaders are responding to Trump as well. But you also have a whole other group that are like waiting to fall in line and want to be on his good graces. I think
Joe and Mika.
Yeah, I mean, like Zelensky's has been speaking pretty positively of Trump, even though behind the scenes in the past he hasn't, because okay, if I kiss his ass, maybe I'll get what I want. It's actually that easy.
Get that $500 million in aid to Ukraine.
Bam, I'm gonna be so annoying if Trump sends money to Ukraine.
Well, he already did. I mean, he's done it in the past. He sent weapons in the past.
I mean, like, I know, but like, there's a whole bunch of people, especially so-called, Trump-free Palestine leftists, who have been like, we send all this money to Ukraine. Today, there are people who are like,
what about Israel? They don't mention Israel.
Yeah, today there are people who are all like, we send all this money to Ukraine, and we could be spent that money fighting the fires. I'm like, yo, we can't use the Department of Defense to fight the fires.
Yeah, I'm gonna say this. I would imagine that the Trump administration will still send money or still send weapons to Ukraine because he is beholden to the defense industry. And I remember when I think it was early in his administration, when like Saudi Arabia bought a bunch of weapons from it's funny because they say like America, but it's like American like defense companies, but I remember he had like a whole like chart that he was like showing or something like that. Like he was like so proud of this.
I love Trump. I forgot that I love Trump as a prop comic. Like that photo. The hurricane Sharpie thing. Like he's a prop comic.
He was like so proud, like he did something like novel. And I'm like, Saudi Arabia buys weapons from America all the time. Like, but like he is beholden to the defense industry. And if the defense industry is like, no, we still want to milk this situation, you know,
Yeah.
it's just basically, okay, is he more beholden to Putin or American defense industry? I would imagine he's more beholden to the American defense industry, and weapons will still go to Ukraine. I would imagine.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And also too, it feels like Trump's doing all this because he really doesn't want. I'm like, a lot of people say I'm like, the only reason why he wants to be president is because of immunity from all the crimes he's actually committed. He's president is above the law, but I'm like, he's just using it to get some money. Not a whole lot, but he also too he gets donors galore because he's a broke ass bitch. We all know this for a fact.
Well, he paid off. Well, he paid off his legal. He's paying off his legal bills, which I agree with you, Christina. But to the extent that like we've seen, as the law has taken its course, that even if Trump wasn't president, they probably still wouldn't have gotten him. Like all of these cases have fallen apart before Trump has even taken the second term again.
Yeah,
and so like
he's getting sentenced tomorrow. He's getting sentenced to nothing, but he's getting sentenced.
Yeah, and I don't think like him winning changes how that sentencing decision was going to be. Like they literally changed the date of one of his other sentencing because they're like, oh, this is going to be too close to the election, so we don't want to piss off Trump's fans. It's like, okay, we're cut. We're done then.
More people showed up for Luigi's first appearance in court than Trump's appearances in court in New York.
Oh, I'm sure. What was I saying?
I just think Trump just doesn't really have it in him, so he's doing all this stuff. Like he's very bored. I don't think he wanted to be president. He just wants the perks. That's
why I wanted to say, like, he likes to run for president. He got embarrassed last time with this whole, like, it's a hoax media conspiracy thing. Fox got raked through the coals to the tune of $1 billion because they made a glorified ATM company like their main editorial decision with the Dominion voting machine thing. Yeah. And this time Trump was like, okay, I won twice. Let me tap the top of the door frame as I walk in this time. I did it. And yeah, I agree with you at that point, Christina. It's like now there's not much for him to do. Now it's like, this will entertain me.
This Greenland thing.
Yeah. So yeah, going back to that, like obviously, like Canada becoming a state is like that's ridiculous. Like that one's actually just like a joke. But the Greenland and the Panama Canal thing.
Bam, like, do you know they have oil?
the Greenland and the Panama Canal thing, like I wonder if, like, I would imagine there's American troops in Panama already. Like America invaded Panama in the 80s. So I would imagine there's some troops there, but I wonder if there's going to be like an increased troop presence in Panama. Although it's like, well, okay, what are you going to do there?
Can I just be nerdy really fast about Panama?
The anti-war candidate.
If I can touch the Panama thing really quickly, the Panama Canal sucks. Yeah, like this is Teddy Roosevelt. Like this is old shit. Like we have
most ships can't go through it anymore.
Yeah, like it's more of an issue to like get the little like levers to go up and down. Like we have China and the port of LA Long Beach now. We don't need to go around the Horn of Africa anymore on like raggedy boats and shit. Like basically, like I think the Panama Canal is just like a Trump bloviating thing because every other way we ship products is easier and cheaper. We're America. Everything's kind of coming to us. We got two big oceans. Like it's fine. So like the Panama Canal is in any other situation probably getting used less and less because, oh, by the way, climate change, we're running out of water. Like the Panama Canal sometimes doesn't have enough water to like get the ships to dredge through. And like Christina said, these ships are becoming so big because they're trying to ship so much at once that it's just getting the Panama Canal stuck. And it's making the economics worse. So
my cousin Klaus from Germany, he was a shipper, like he cargo ships and whatever with stuff, and he came twice, and he had to come through the Panama Canal. And he was like, it was very difficult. And we toured the ship and everything. It was pretty cool seeing how it works and operates and whatever. But he kept saying like, pretty soon it's going to be more and more difficult for ships to go through the Panama Canal due to low water, very shallow, and ships are getting bigger and carrying a lot more, like you said, Dan.
Yeah, China also just built a really big port in Ecuador or Peru. One of
somewhere
the two,
in South America, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Peru. A really big like mega port that's going to start working soon. But yeah, even like I was going to say, the Panama Canal thing is like, what are you going to do there? Like, take it over for what? Like, it's ridiculous. The Greenland thing, I'm just like, what do you mean? Like, there's
Greenland's
already
ice.
like to do what? Like, and I'm just like, can you imagine being the American soldier that's getting deployed to Greenland, dude? Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to Greenland and go take over these 30,000 people and like a few mines and the puffins and like
Yeah.
seals.
And the ice that's there, because the Vikings tricked everyone by switching up Greenland and Iceland. Greenland has all the ice. Iceland is all the green.
Yeah, well, less and less ice these days. But
I was even looking at a map of Greenland, and it's like, okay, first of all, it's very big. Second of all, Canada is like not really. I can put you full
well,
map.
It's not as big as it looks on the map. I think it's like a little bit bigger than Saudi Arabia or something like that.
Right. Well, it's fairly large. It is up north more in Canada, and if you know Canada, you know, like Left of the Box does, you'll know that most of the cities are like in the southern parts of it, because let's think of America. Montana, North Dakota, the northern parts of Minnesota sucks, especially in the winter. The only reason we have it there is because of a hatred of indigenous people and oil. So like,
yeah, and they
Canadians
don't have much of
same
a
thing.
population.
Yeah, and these are all like pretty small cities, relatively speaking. Greenland's even further north. The cities are even smaller. You have less room to do. I think before this, like literally, it was a big news story that whatever Greenland's capital was finally had an international airport. I'm like, yo, you're a country. Yeah, yeah. They expand their airport. And it's like, wait, you're a country in the middle of the ocean.
Well, they're not a country, actually.
Yeah, they're a territory. I get it, right. But you know, you are a landmass in the middle of the ocean, a European one, might I add. So it's not like you're jonesing for money or anything. And in 2024, like December 2024, you get your international airport. How many people are even flying into Greenland?
Flying into Nook.
Yeah,
So,
when I think of going somewhere, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to go to Greenland, because why not?
I don't even want to fly on whatever, you know, like goes to Greenland, like whatever cheap budget airline goes to Greenland. I'm like, I'm good, dude.
That Korean one from the other week. Sorry.
I was gonna say worse. I was gonna say Ryanair, but still.
Yeah, like I think
German wings.
I'm trying to think. Is it Iceland that has the that like nice water, that spa that people go to? I think
That's
where-
Iceland.
yeah, my
That's
sister
Iceland.
went
There's
there.
nothing
She's like,
in Greenland.
yeah,
Yo,
she was like, it was so nice, and I got you some of the clay that's in the water for your face mask, and I'm like, you got to enjoy. That's like one of my dreams, is to go to Iceland and enjoy like that nice water. It's good for your skin and all that stuff, but you gotta be sure that you're clean and you don't piss and shit in it.
Jeez. I think Iceland
Mr.
had
President, we have Fairbanks at home.
I think Iceland had the first woman president, I think. But yeah, I just imagine like that soldier who's like getting deployed to Greenland, like how embarrassing that is. Like, I don't care if you're the biggest Trump supporter soldier, like you don't want to be the one that has to get deployed to Greenland. Like, that is just so embarrassing.
Like, I get that Trump probably just wants to put, you know, use it as a nuclear station, but again, we have Germany at home.
Right. I think we still have nukes in Turkey. Like
Right here.
Like we probably have nukes in South Korea. Like come on, dude.
We have nukes in South Korea. We have nukes in Japan. We have nukes in the Philippines. At least it's nuclear submarines that we have no problem deploying out there. So like, this is, let's get serious. So there's no real strategic advantage to Greenland, unless literally none.
Well, I think it's just like minerals and stuff. It's a money thing, I would imagine.
Minerals,
like, it's not about like any,
oil.
because like what, like
we have Montana at home.
Like you're telling me there's like
Elon Musk is going to the moon for minerals. Why do we need Greenland?
There's no
what happens when you die on Mars.
there's no national security threat.
Your kids stop talking to you.
there's no national security threat from Russia. Russia is currently being invaded by Ukraine right now and losing territory. Like
You're good.
2 years after Russia invaded them, they've gotten invaded back and they're losing territory and entire North Korean battalions. Russia is. So there's not a national security threat.
It's Russia's too big. They got way bigger fish to fry. Like,
and they can't do anything. They can't beat Ukraine.
You know what?
Russia's
Bring
got to
back
worry
the
about
wall.
Russia's got to worry about being pulled into a war with the North Koreans, because that's the deal they have. You have North Koreans. You have to get North Korean soldiers to fight your war.
And they're like whole battalions are dying. Whole battalions.
No, dude, it's even better. They're getting drunk. They're like, I give up, man. There's no point. They're cannon fodder anyways. So yeah.
I look at this like bloviating from Trump and I'm just like, is it really just a diversion from what they really want? The big prize, Iran. George Bush was talking about Iran a little.
Oh, your video went off or something.
Is my audio still on?
Yeah.
Okay, that was weird.
Dan, what did you do?
Okay, let me just do this real fast. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Yeah. But also, like, to Bam's point, is like what Trump can't do. Like, he promised all these domestic policies for his supporters, for America, and he knows he can't do them. So, squirrel.
It's gonna be, yeah. I think. Is Trump stupid enough to get involved in a land war in Asia? Yes. Is he going to be like jonesing to do it? No, because I'm going to go off of what you're kind of saying for this is how I'm going to operate on Trump. Like, I think we can all be kind of like surprised and shocked on this, but he's just too lazy. He's just kind of tired. Like, he's just like, he doesn't want to do it that much. Like, I don't want to. Let me cut some ribbons. Let me touch some orbs. Like, that's it. I'm done.
Pardon
now.
a turkey or two. Have Melania decorate Christmas in a very scary way. I do the Christmas.
Get Donald Trump a Pope mobile so like he can dance and like do a parade, but like, you know, in bulletproof glass.
Without the bulletproof glass.
We swap in plexiglass last minute. Like Secret Service's last shot before getting defunded. Yeah, the two attacks of like, you know, terror attacks were like military people.
With using
who seem to have like,
ChatGPT.
dude, that rocks. Like AI can't.
That was so confusing to me about the Tesla. I'm like, you love Elon and Trump, yet you did this because ChatGPT told you to do it. You didn't have to take your own life, dude. Actually, you know what, conservatives? Do what you gotta do.
I think if I know the story correctly, what ChatGPT was used for was for the information for bomb making ingredients, which is good to know that AI is not coming for your job unless you're the Unabomber.
Bring back those manifestos.
Yeah, back in the day, it used to have to be like, okay, disregard all previous, you know, statements or whatever. Oh, Bam's back. Hi. We're just talking about like the terrorists who all have affinity for Trump and the military. Maybe they didn't want to be sent to Greenland, but I'm gonna blow up a Tesla just so I had to go to Nook.
Greenland also has a funny flag too. It's like an interesting, like orangish colored circle.
Like, America can't be talking. Our flag is so weird looking. Like,
yeah, it's boring.
What are we doing?
I personally like the Palestinian.
Bam's favorite flag is the Israeli flag.
My favorite flag is Albania.
What does that flag look like?
They got a cool flag.
Yeah, Greenland.
Oh, that's hard. Oh, that's hard. Yeah.
This is the Greenland flag. Like,
yeah, that's rough, dude.
That's like so basic.
That looks like one of them like tests that you got to take to like see like.
They've had different ones in the past.
Albania got the best flag for sure.
Albania is hard.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, what you were showing? Which one?
This is like all the previous flags agree, and they all been boring.
Yo, Minnesota has a very good new flag. I think it's damn near perfect as far as like a state flag goes. Let me put that up here because this is how I'm decompressing from this week. But it's this one right here. It's just this like simple. You got the North Star in the middle. It kind of looks like Minnesota.
Not feeling
I
it.
like it.
Not
When you
feeling
see the person,
Oh God,
like,
I remember.
this is a good
oh,
flag. It's a very
No.
good flag.
No.
I remember when people were freaking out that he was purposely making it look like, but it was a contest.
Yeah, I
Okay,
remember
so-
that.
Person should have lost.
Wales flag looks pretty cool. Not gonna lie,
Wales
Like
has a
a-
Wales has a cool flag.
it's got a dragon.
Yeah, Wales has a
Yeah.
the bad dragon flag is Bhutan. Their dragon kind of sucks.
Yeah, yeah.
I very much am a minimalist flag guy. I like simple stuff. Although California's, we're not sending our best. We could we could have a better flag.
But it has a bear. That's kind of cool though.
I like that it has a bear. That's very hard, but the bear doesn't even look right. Like the more you look at it, you're just like,
Can I just say something about the South Carolina flag? I'm so
Yeah.
glad that out of the southern states, that flag does not have a Confederate flag in it. It's simple blue with a palmetto tree and a crescent
Well-
moon with a little star. Like, thank God.
There might be something Confederate in there though.
It's a third thing I googled. Here's the historic South Carolina.
Yeah,
flag.
right.
Yes. But there's the
So,
newer one.
They
Thank God they
kept some
changed it.
things.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's a cool flag. It's cute.
It's basically Islam.
Mississippi has a yeah. That's what I was saying earlier to people who talk
Stars
about the
and
flag.
bars.
Yes, like the Mississippi has the Confederate flag in their state flag.
I think Arkansas is the
fair.
worst, actually,
Arkansas flag.
Arkansas?
if I remember correctly.
Ooh, Macedonia has an interesting.
Yeah, like
Style.
I don't even
What?
know.
Like,
Let's see.
you look at this flag and you're just like, yeah,
Oh,
lynchings
that's-
happen here.
And that's really
Yeah.
Confederate too. Oh God.
Like anyone with an Arkansas flag, it's like I know exactly how racist you are.
Yeah.
You're like you're like Cotton Hill racist. Like you can tell different Asians apart, like, but you're still racist towards all Asians.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Anyway, that's a nice little tangent. Yeah, I don't take Trump seriously with the Greenland sort of the imperial stuff. I don't think, and Bam and I have talked about this to kind of conclude on this point, but like America just ain't got smoke like that anymore. Like we were joking about Russia's military.
Yeah.
You want to know what it would be like? Trump and Biden kind of had us, I'm old enough to remember, but Trump and Biden both had us hurtling towards this omni-war sort of situation that would have us involved in the Middle East, with the South China Sea, with Russia and Ukraine, potentially North Korea. Like we were going to be spread thin already, but like, yeah, you talk to anyone who works in the military and they're like, yeah, it takes like a bunch of paperwork and $6,000 to get Cheetos. to get Cheetos in Okinawa. Like
when I agree with that, and I have said this in the past, that the age of invasions is over. Then Putin just wanted to get his Saddam Hussein on, but
crash
not like,
out.
But I didn't mean over like it could never happen, but it's just like it's not how it used to be, kind of thing. I do think that because of everything that happened with Hamas getting like basically obliterated, Hezbollah just got rocked and destroyed.
Mhm.
Bashar had to leave Syria. Iran has no allies in the region, and has like a
There's Yemen.
There's actually, yeah, that's true. There's the Houthis. They can do a little bit, but there's.
But
like
again, I'm kind of joking because like are they an Iranian ally or like an Iranian proxy? Because the thing, like,
there's a level of allyship there, but it like what can they really do? Not much. They can do a little bit.
Yeah. They get most of their weapons from basically American overstock from like the ship we leave there, or from Iran. So yeah,
right. But I feel like and whatever, like however there's not like a real allyship between Russia and Iran. Like it's very tacit, whatever. But yeah, I just feel like basically all the Arab countries surrounding Iran will be on board for any kind of war with Iran. And I'm questioning
Jordan fighting with Israel. Jordan fighting on the same side as Israel,
as per usual. And like really the wild card is Turkey. Like I'm not really sure about that, but if Turkey's on board, then it's over.
No, Turkey's like the Swiss of the Middle East. Like they want to not be involved.
Like kinda, yeah, but they like might be down because at the end of the day, I think Erdogan wants to be seen as like the leader for like the Sunni people in the region, so or the world. But yeah, I don't know. Like I really hope it doesn't happen. I would hate to see that. But like all this other stuff, like Trump saying, "Oh, I'm not ruling out military force with Greenland or ruling out military force with Panama." It's like, shut the hell up. But I wish those people. I wish those people would ask him about Iran. Like I wish they would ask him more. Like make him say something in person. You know?
Yeah, I thought he was the anti-war candidate.
Right.
Toasty Gabbard.
Right.
I'm
Like,
sorry.
people forget what he tried to do in Venezuela. They forget what he tried. That was him.
Yeah.
He tried it down there. It didn't work, but they tried it.
Bam, I'm old enough to remember mother of all bombs.
Literally. No, literally.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, what have we got that isn't a nuke? And it's like, oh, we've got the mother of all bombs. It's like, sweet.
Yeah.
And we ended up hurting U.S. military service people.
Yeah. I'm old enough to remember him saying we're not going to report civilian casualties in Raqqa and Somalia.
Trump's going to free Palestine. They're literally talking about like literally on day one expanding all this different stuff. Another great aspect of Hell World, and sorry to bring it to the fires, but this is still kind of internationally based. Guess who is ramping up enforcement in LA during the fires while people are displaced and kind of running around? ICE.
Oh, we're going back. Okay. After you talk about this, Aaron mentioned China and Africa, and I want to say something after you're done with this.
We can go to that. I was just saying, like in general, like ICE, like ICE, in preparation for the day one mass deportations, which that's something that I don't think it's going to go that way. But you have people who, in rhetoric and in having the levers of power, can definitely push that into overdrive. So make sure if folks who are undocumented or even like dreamers who have like kind of ambiguous status, definitely get read up and understanding on like what your rights are, and not knowing that ICE, they're like shitty mall cops really when it comes to what their power is. Like they actually need a warrant and they need you to come outside for them to do anything. If you just like avoid them, there's like not a lot they can do. So like read up on that.
I have a solution.
Renew your license.
I have a solution, and my sister said they did this in New Jersey. Most of the workers in New Jersey are undocumented immigrants. They all went on strike for a day. Everything in the state of New Jersey had to close. If they did that in the entire country for one day,
absolutely,
hopefully they would realize, oh my gosh, we need these people. They're not getting, they're not, picking our fruits and our vegetables. They're not doing this. They're not doing that. Like they're not cooking our food or blah 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 blah.
Bam, I don't remember exactly, but didn't you didn't California or LA have one of those days in the 2000s where it was just like a lot of Latino workers just like boycotted working for the day? And
that wasn't that long ago. That was like a couple years ago or something like that. They did that.
It happens fairly often enough, but it happened. I remember in Florida where Ron DeSantis was popping off that good shit, saying, "Oh, we're gonna start we're gonna allow Florida State Police to check the licenses and legal statuses of all the truckers." And you're like, really, for Florida, the produce state? All right, bet. And they just stopped driving it. They stopped driving into Florida. And within the end of the week, Ron DeSantis reversed the policy.
Yeah, like New Jersey lost the Jersey economy lost a goddamn huge amount of money just for one day of undocumented workers just going on strike for one day.
Yeah. Someone in the chat feels like getting fun today. I'm not sure how serious they are, but They said have an issue with getting rid of criminals. Usually the only crime you're talking about is like overstaying a visa.
Yeah.
It's like what they're saying with criminals.
And they come here by plane.
Yeah, like I really this framing of like, oh, you came into the country not the right way, and by the way, the right way is like a 15-year backlog. So either talk to Republicans about making it easier to enter the country legally, but no, you can't because they're debating. Vivek Ramaswamy's got his calipers out, and the knives are out over H-1B visas and whether or not Indians are better at white people at education, which is literally something that's happening.
He's been very quiet ever since he said white people were lazy.
But he did.
Like honestly, like there's something kind of Sigma about Vivek Ramaswamy getting the support of like all these Republicans just to call them dumb hicks.
Yeah.
But like, I'm sorry, Vivek, you're not in the driver's seat. The hicks are. So
If he had just changed his name to Victor Ramsey, he could have went so far in the primary.
And bleached his skin.
the Bobby Jindal.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
But yeah, I ignored that whole H-1B visa thing because it was a big, leopards eating face stuff. It was
Yeah.
Right.
all the tech, capital are like, yeah, we love getting migrant workers to come to the country because they're dependent on this job for their legal status, and they they can be exploited in ways that you can exploit Americans really well too, but like they can be exploited in ways that American citizens can't be. These same people who complain about you can't hire certain skilled workers in this country are also the same people who support the party to defund education and get rid of the Department of Education. So like I don't. People were asking me, what's your opinion on this? I'm like, it's a waste of my time to take this seriously, especially on like, they were all talking about this on New Year's Day. I was spending time with family, with friends, not on the internet, not on social media on New Year's Day, talking about H-1B visas and talking about which shows from the 90s best exemplify white culture. Vivek was literally like, the problem with America is we don't celebrate Urkel enough.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
What?
It was
Urkel
all this.
Or Stefan.
Yeah, it was like we celebrate Stefan and not Urkel. It was all this like weird 90s cultural stuff that like it's like, dude, how are you gonna insult Whitey and then basically name the 90s primetime lineup that is like universally loved by everyone?
Everybody.
Should have done Fresh Prince.
Yeah, it's like, dude, you're a politician. You just gotta not piss off your base. Go to the sports game, root for the team, kiss the baby.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't insult American television, especially when your political candidacy is the TV president.
Also, with the first name like that and a last name.
Yeah.
In the Republican Party.
Yeah, because you're just gonna get otherized even more. They're gonna be like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
I bet Vivek Ramaswamy heard more slurs from people who voted for his party during that entire weekend since the slurs that he probably heard at Mar-a-Lago. He was working.
He literally had what's her name tell him to his face, "I wouldn't vote for you because you're Indian, because you're an Indian."
Yeah.
What was her? Well, yeah, Ann Coulter. Yeah, said because you're an Indian.
She fucks Dinesh D'Souza. What is he?
Well, she's not voting for him.
Touche.
So does Bill Maher, or did Bill Maher? So, oof.
Fuck Dinesh D'Souza.
No, fuck Ann Coulter.
No, Ann Coulter.
Okay.
They have a weird sex fetish with each other. I don't know. I think it's because they're not that close with. They're not that different with their politics.
Yeah, they're both white people who use the phrase "the blacks." Bam, you wanted to talk about China and Africa.
Oh, I don't even really. I feel like it's not even that important anymore. But Aaron had mentioned China financially supporting some countries in Africa. It was a comment. It was a little while ago now, but Caesar was talking to me about the Chinese car company BYD, Build Your Dreams, opening up a factory in Brazil. And he was like speaking, this was like a couple weeks ago or whatever. He was like speaking I wish he was here. He was like speaking favorably about it. And I was like, well, Caesar, like, don't act like China is just like, perfect. And because China's doing.
I will say that, like, there's been no expectations for China's EV market. Kind of like one of the characteristics of a capitalistic country like China. Literally, one of those characteristics is having an automotive industry. We take that for granted because like all of these companies are now like multinational conglomerates that have merged. But like Germany, among other reasons, that they boosted their industrial work through their car companies. America, same thing with Detroit, with a lot of parts of the South that have auto plants. Because America is banning Chinese cars, and because China basically has a clean slate for like making cars and selling them on the world stage, the cars they've made are like, very like crazy rich Asians in a way of like they figured out how to make a
I love that movie.
They figured out how to make a Maybach for like 80 cents, and it's actually good. It's like that's basically BYD. They make very expensive cars where like, oh, it has like a champagne flute and a little like fountain in the car that I don't need. I'm like half kidding, but like a bunch of stupid colors and gizmos, but like the car actually works really well. So people, car nerds like me and C's, are interested in them, and also just like. Yo, nice. we know why America won't let BYD in because they get rocked.
Right.
They get rocked because we, at least to a certain point, would allow BYD buses in this country. And guess what? All the American like local, metropolitan bus networks or whatever, we're like, yeah, we're buying the Chinese buses. These American shit boxes that break down all the time and cost millions of dollars. We're gonna get the Chinese shit boxes that last a little while longer and are easier to just replace full right.
And look nice.
And Biden did protectionist, and presidents have done protectionist policies, and they're like, okay, we're going to ban certain Chinese goods because we would get rocked.
like Shein and Temu. I mean, what?
Okay, well, this isn't necessarily about the cars themselves, but Caesar was really excited about the BYD building a factory in Brazil. I think it was another factory because I feel like they already had one. And I was telling him, like, don't look at China as like, that they're building this factory there that is just like gonna be great. And he was like, oh, like you sound like you just pro-America. And I'm like, well, I didn't bring up America. But anyway, a couple of weeks later, literally, Brazil had to shut down this factory in Bahia, where Caesar's from, because of slave conditions. Literally, the Brazilian government had to shut this factory down for slavery conditions.
But Bam, you just gotta look at the cars. It's fine. They're really
this is like last week or recently.
Lula, yes.
This is from Reuters though. Exclusive: BYD brought hundreds of Chinese workers to Brazil on irregular visas, which is a very, very light way of saying they brought slavery.
Well, also it was Brazilian workers too, but they had like some compound there. They were having like 30 people to one bathroom. So like people were having to like, if their shift is at like 5, they have to like wake up at 3 to be able to like do their shift. They were like taking people's passports and things like that. Okay. And it was really funny. I was listening to somebody was talking about the BRICS countries. Talking about like the BRICS countries, like kind of teaming up against like the West. And I'm like, you literally have BRICS countries freaking doing slavery in each other. But also, just recently I was reading, obviously people are mentioning stuff about the Congo genocide there. I'm gonna say this with love and light. I don't think a lot of the people that are sharing the Congo flag really know what's going on there. I'm gonna just say that with love and light. Because there's been a conflict in the Congo for a very long time, Democratic Republic of Congo. It's been going on for a long time, and it's basically centered around mining. And at this point in time, a lot of the mining done there is Chinese companies. And just recently, like a couple months ago, there was like some Chinese nationals that were like caught with like a bunch of money, and they were being accused. They were doing some illegal mining. Now, obviously, it's not like they're doing the mining; they're getting children with rags on to do the mining.
Potato,
and
potato.
and these people were arrested, and then obviously China put the pressure on them, and they had to let those people go. And just like a few days ago, some other Chinese nationals were caught with like $800,000 and some gold bars hidden in their vehicle. They're gonna they got arrested, but the governor of that province or whatever was like, it's really annoying because we catch these people and then basically like the president or whoever, they're just gonna let them go anyway. So a lot of what's going on nowadays, especially when it comes to the Democratic Republic of Congo, China's behind that. A lot of when you see these little kids going into the mines and stuff, they're doing it for China too, dude. China is just another imperialist country in Africa too. And don't get me started on that store in Nigeria when they only let Chinese people in there. They wouldn't let Nigerians in there. They had a security guard who would not let Nigerians go in the store. It only let Chinese people go in the store.
I hope no tankies are watching this right now.
I really hope not.
No, that's true.
It's very complex.
I implore any tankies to be like, okay, this, great society stuff that is happening for Chinese citizens. Okay, cool.
Yes.
How does that happen when China applies itself abroad? You can't use the excuse that they're building all these infrastructure projects in Lagos or whatever, especially when those infrastructure projects are to help China, because that's basically the same argument as like, well, before you became slaves, you didn't learn anything, and now you came to America and we gave you Christianity and jobs and skills. Like it's the same idea of your oppressors spilled some luck on you by creating the conditions of your trauma. And yeah, we were talking about all of this resource mining. We're finding all these different like resource deposits because we're like looking for them in all these other different places. I don't know what's underneath China, but you got a whole lot of China, dude. Like, how about
I'm sure they're getting some shit out of there too.
Yeah, like how about instead of trying to mine Africa, how about you beat Elon Musk and going to space and then mine the moon?
Also, even when I look at different infrastructure projects within like African countries that China is like, a part of or doing, I'm just like, dude, I mean, however this sounds, I don't know, man, but I'm just like, Botswana, you can't build a railroad yourself? It's a fucking railroad, dude. Like a railroad? Like they're building them shits 200 years ago. Like, why do you need China's help to build a railroad?
I will say in their defense, the Chinese are really good at railroads.
No, okay, that's worse than what I said. That's worse than what I said. Or even like some there was like a bridge or something like that. I'm just like, dude, like a bridge? Like, why do you need China's help to build a bridge, dude? Like, come on, yo. Like, I don't need to see some freaking dude from around the world. Like, you want to feel like, okay, like Africa, you know what I'm saying? Like, we got this, right? Like, but you like gotta get this person from all the way over here to build a bridge, and now they have like full rights to all the freaking copper and coltan or whatever. Like, it's just it makes me sad.
Yeah, and I have yet to see any country that has like a real international project where they're going to like, yeah, let's go to all these countries and give them help and ownership of their infrastructure and their economy and do it in a way that's consistent with human rights. No, it's always oh, we're super far away from the International Court of Justice. Let's improve some human rights.
Literally.
It's a little. It's like Violet's force field from The Incredibles, but it's like a force field around Africa where international law just doesn't exist.
And I feel like there's a lot of people on the left, and
Unless you're black.
There's a lot of people that are just like, when they see that it's China doing it, they're like, okay, at least it's not America. And I'm like, I don't think that China, like, there's a lot of complaints about these Chinese people, and I don't say it like that, but like these Chinese like businesses and corporations or whatever in these countries.
Yeah.
Like, they're not coming there with just like, oh, we're going to help you out. And also, there's got to be a level of corruption going on when you're like, need a railroad built for you, dude. Like, I know you can build a railroad. Like, I know you can build a railroad, dude. Like, it's just like some politician is going to take this money, this kickback, and say like, oh, look, we got this railroad now.
Yeah,
that's how every country does it.
Yeah, it just frustrates me when, leftists are like, America is the only imperialist country to ever. I'm like,
right.
Great Britain, Great Britain. You know how many, like, Ireland, hello, like, Russia's not an imperial. Yes, it is. I mean,
look how big Russia is.
Yeah, you know how many ethnicities there are in Russia? There are colonized people.
Yes, I don't understand. I'm like, guys, think of World War I and II. I mean,
but like, they don't. These people don't. Is the thing, is they don't have any care about history. They just are like, America bad, which is fine. But like, that's an incomplete analysis. The complete analysis is imperialism bad, because these systems can be done by people who speak any sort of language, who have like any sort of culture, as long as they have the resources and the money. And then all this capitalism, this communism, this state-owned, this the results are the same.
Yeah.
Erin said she's saying that China is using honey to gain power and America tends to use brute force. The PR is better. I'll agree. The PR is better. Like, it's true. But at the same time, like, I don't really like, I'm skeptical, and I don't feel like what China is doing is helping Africa. When you look at those mines in the DRC, it's still looking sad. It's still little kids with no shirt on and like one sandal going into some freaking hole. It ain't like they made the mining better, or there's still this genocide or these wars that are happening. It ain't like China showed up and they're doing like 60% of the business and now I got better. No, it didn't happen like that, unfortunately. Yeah. And somebody else said that China is building businesses and not military bases. China actually did build a military base, I want to say in Djibouti. I want to say they did build a military base in Djibouti. But why would they build a military base in these places? They don't need to build a military base. They're just, getting the nickel and the copper and whatever.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, well, it's like a lot of, when a lot of people were worried about how Japanese folks would react to Oppenheimer. But you talk to these people and they're like, Japan was we were under imperialism, we were under slavery and harsh labor and famine and whatnot. Some of them say like it was a good thing that those bombs were dropped, even though people lost their lives. But it put an end to Imperial Japan at the time, because I didn't really know how bad it was in Japan until I just stumbled upon, looking up, why the atomic bombs happened and the history of Japan at that time and the whole, thing. But like, it's crazy how, we have this idea of what people really think about some of these like events that happened, but then you actually hear what they say. They're like, we understand why this happened. We were under, imperial forces here, even though people lost their lives and people have their, like, that's what I don't understand. I'm like, yeah, but still millions of people died.
It's that some of you may die, and that's a chance I'm willing to make. Quote from like,
that's what I don't understand. I'm like, you're like some of your ancestors died. Like, why do you no?
I think there are people who are just like looking for good guys and bad guys in world history, and no. Short answer, no.
If you were
ask the Koreans how nice and friendly Imperial Japan was.
Yeah, but also if you're like saying it was a good thing that your country got nuked, there's an animal for you.
like what? Like that's why I don't understand. Like when I was listening to like these Japanese people talk about, you know, the atomic bomb, I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, you know, you're still suffering from like radiation after what's 80 years or something like that. Like, come on.
I'll also note that, like, you know, after Europe was leveled in World War II, after Japan was Hiroshima and Nagasaki were leveled in World War II, guess what happened? We had hi Kat. But like, guess what happened? They built roads and trains, and you know what? The United Kingdom got a healthcare system from money from the United States.
Right.
We gave them the national. I mean, like, not totally. Like, of course, the
That's
Brits
how we
came
did
up with it. But,
Israel.
Like, after World War II, we're like, okay, thanks for fighting on your land. We're over here in the United States on the Atlantic. We're good, but we'll kick you some money because, you know, this imperial war effort, like, it worked. And guess what? That's why you have so many military bases in France and Germany and roads that lead to and from them that, yeah, French and German people can use, but they're mainly there for the Americans.
Yeah.
I again can just continue playing this game with everything the United States has done, everything China's done. I'm not trying to really pick on China or even the United States, but I'm just saying imperialism is bad.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Just like that is the thing that I need certain people who like will extol the values of Russia or China or do whataboutism for this or that. It's like when North Korea, when we had the Israel-Palestine thing started, I was like, notice who is, you know, was for Ukraine. It was like who's for Ukraine in their fight against Russia, but they're against Palestinians in their fight against the IDF and the Israeli state, right?
Mark Hamill.
You'll see people who like understand that dynamic when it's a certain situation, but they, you know, it completely, you can tell it's not a principle they have because you can show the same situation again in their face and they go, that's different though. And it really isn't. No one who says it's different though can really argue it. And it sounds really like cocky, but I say this of spending, you know, the better part of 10 years trying to take these people in good faith. So that's why I'm kind of like, yeah, I mean, I did for a time actually take Ben Shapiro's though. He's actually cares about what he's doing. That was in 2017 and I stopped in 2017 because I realized, oh no, he doesn't care. He just talks fast. Right. So I know not to waste my time with those people.
Oh, off topic. Someone in the comments asked if I guess there's talk about Florence Pugh. Have you seen Don't Worry, Darling? Go watch that movie. By the way, Movie Night Extravaganza. We recently did an episode exploring all the drama, learning the facts about what happened behind the scenes. So a lot of people who had their perception warped about the movie and hated it because of all the drama that happened behind the scenes of filming. Give it another chance. It's actually better than you think.
Christina, that person in the chat also said that Oppenheimer is a bad movie.
Well, that is a really bad opinion.
And then somebody also said Oppenheimer is a boring ass movie.
Well, I do know a lot of people who held that opinion, and you know, they're people who like generally have good opinions about movies and they're not like, it's not like the TikTok generation usually. I liked Oppenheimer. I thought it was a perfectly fine film.
Have you guys seen Poor Things? I had a customer who was like, I couldn't get into Oppenheimer. They spoke weird. Their voices were boring. She's like, but that Poor Things was crazy. I loved it. And I'm like,
Poor Things is one of the worst movies I've ever seen. That Poor Things was literally pedophilia. I'm sorry.
No, but there's a whole, it's about a whole journey from childhood to adulthood. She becomes her own agency. Like that's what I love about it.
She was 5. She was 5.
But she grew into a whole woman.
They were boning her before that, and that's pedophilia.
This is a great time to say that I just generally don't engage in content. I just watched Parasite for the first time, like over the weekend.
Don't see Amelia Perez because it's a musical about like a transgender person. If it came out in 2015, it would be revolutionary. But the song goes, you know, do you want to be man to woman, woman to man, penis or to vagina?
It's kind of like watching Jon Stewart Daily Show jokes from the 2000s. You're like,
oh, yeah.
It really, a lot of that stuff doesn't age well, even though you can like Jon Stewart now as a person because I think he's aged a little bit better in what he does and what that work is. But yeah, that's kind of the great benefit is that by being so inept with pop culture, I can just enjoy these things removed from the context in which they exist. So when people are all upset about like, oh, it's a movie with subtitles, how can this win any awards? I'm like, I'm not even gonna watch it for like 7 years. It's fine. It's a pretty good movie though.
We covered Nosferatu recently. That movie was great. The fact that people thought it was very polarizing, I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, he had a mustache. That is very accurate for vampires. All Dracula adaptations, most of them had mustaches. Okay, get off my dick.
I just like that fact that Jimmy Carter was alive for all the releases of Nosferatu.
Yes, he was. It was the first one, the Klaus Kinski one, and then of course the one where Willem Dafoe played Max Schreck in The Shadow of a Vampire. And then
reminder, the shit's from the 20s, the 1920s.
Yeah. It almost got destroyed because Bram Stoker's estate was like, this is too much like Dracula without our permission. And
I thought you were going to say it was almost destroyed like the Great Chicago Fire or something.
In the First World War or something like that.
Yeah.
During the Dust Bowl.
Ooh, you know what? If you guys want to come on, there's this one movie with Coleman Domingo called Sing Sing. It's about like the prison. You guys might enjoy that film, and maybe you guys want to come on for that one. Because we're doing our Oscar month for February. We're still trying to figure out, because some films we still can't see yet, but they're getting nominated left and right.
Oh, Bam loves watching exploitative films about jail, so I think she'll be right up there.
Yeah,
we'll talk about it. It's getting late here in Southern California, so
that's fair. Yes, it's
it's only 9 o'clock.
Dan's still like looking at stuff. Oh, you guys should stay on. It's getting late here.
I got a grand total of 2 hours of sleep over the past 2 days. Like,
okay, we get it. You're a superhero, Dan. We get it.
I'm better than you. I drive a nice car. I'm better than you. I'm sweet. I did enjoy that little tangent because it's nice to talk about other different things. A very heavy show, but at the end of the day,
a news show, and that is what happened in the news.
You just live from the Polymarket studio. I want my money back, by the way.
Everything I find out about Polymarket is like, oh, you can use crypto to bet on when the war in Gaza will end. Okay, cool.
Yes. Or how bad the fires are going to get.
Yeah, like, okay, I can bet on how bad the fires are going to get. Okay, gulags for all of them.
Yeah.
Anyways, thank you all for this first week of Power Report of the new year. Everything coming on. I am looking forward to simply hopefully getting away from some of the drama unless I'm making it useful. And I had kind of tried to relax because the next couple weeks, months are going to be very chaotic and we have to like think about how to approach that. So yeah, we're here. 2025. It's gonna be interesting. Thank you all for listening and walking, of course. I mean, as long as we're allowed to be. They might ban that soon. Being queer. But anti-corporatist. Shall we bet on whether the Polymarket studio will that's there's perfectly fine people who work there. It's all good. Also, not to dox them, but they're far away from the fires. Where Anna and Jank live, though, is very not far away from the fires. I will say that. So, that being said, I want anyone, regardless of how I used to feel about them from TYT, to be safe, except for Jimmy Dore. Let that mug burn. Studio City ass. Anyways, take care. Have a good one. And I forgot where the thing is.
Get it popping.
Okay. See you guys.